This epic tale kicks off on a violently stormy night inside a ruined Murim estate. Several shadowy figures, draped in pitch-black robes, stand frozen. A deep voice pierces the darkness, demanding to know who goes there. Torrential rain forms massive puddles. Suddenly, a mud-covered kid appears, staring down these dark intruders. Their absolute silence feels chilling. A warrior with glowing blood-red eyes locks intently onto him, shocked that someone actually survives in this cursed martial arts academy. Calling him a young warrior, the imposing man politely asks to crash here and escape the brutal storm tonight. The kid squints back intensely, curious about these mysterious high-level martial artists. He is totally stunned by their hardcore respect toward a literal child. He guesses they probably mistook him for some hidden, overpowered young Taoist, master guarding this forgotten sect. Playing along, he politely bows back, figuring these scary-looking dudes might actually be chill. He casually explains that he just crashed in this ruined temple a few years back, telling them to rest anywhere they want except inside his personal pavilion. The intimidating men humbly bow, thanking the young master for his kindness. Their imposing leader barks orders strictly forbidding anyone from nearing the kid's territory while finding shelter. He growls, asking if they all understand, and the squad aggressively shouts yes before scattering into the shadows. Right then, our main character spots the word Tang stitched onto their dark uniforms, immediately realizing they must belong to the infamous Tang clan. Despite his massive curiosity, he has way more important stuff to do. Bursting into his rundown pavilion, he instantly gets busy, whipping up a massive feast for his precious babies. The entire dark, moody vibe vanishes as he literally sparkles with joy. Our quirky hero hypes everyone up for dinner time. Yanking the lid off a giant clay pot, he exposes a tiny, creepy cricket, playfully whining that he was almost late and his precious bugs must be absolutely starving. Digging into another jar, he greets a massive, terrifying spider known as the Black Earth Tiger, a deadly Hainan tarantula. This absolute monster can literally grow up to 20 centimeters long, rocking sick, jagged stripes that perfectly mimic a savage black tiger. Flexing his chopstick skills, the kid delicately snatches a bug to hand-feed this beast. Watching it chew, he gets super emotional, realizing he absolutely would have died in this brutal world without his creepy pets. The giant tarantula violently devours the snack, making him beam with pride. He is mesmerized, remembering when this beast was just fingernail-sized, but now it has leveled up, shedding its armor twice. Grinning like a proud dad, he confirms the spider is fully stuffed. Moving on, our hero yanks open a dusty drawer, revealing a striking neon orange lizard flexing white stripes, a rare bewangling cave gecko. This specific creature rules the local caves, famous for its insanely cool tiger-striped body. A nostalgic wave hits the boy, as he remembers how impossibly expensive these exotic pets were in his past life, when he was totally broke. But in this era, they are literally everywhere. Watching over his scaly babies brings him absolute euphoria. Suddenly, while feeding the gecko, it violently chomps onto his finger. Screaming his lungs out, he frantically shakes to break free, but the stubborn lizard clamps down harder. This hilarious chaos instantly triggers a crazy flashback. Before transmigrating, he was actually a mega-famous streamer named Spicy Fabre, a hardcore bug biologist rocking over 1 million insanely loyal subscribers. His entire channel revolved around deadly venomous beasts, but his final legendary livestream literally sealed his doom. Trying to film the top 10 deadliest vipers, he traveled into the wild, hunting the infamous black mamba, an insanely aggressive apex predator. Right in the middle of his hype stream, he angrily complained about failing to find the beast and decided to chill for a second. The live chat spammed jokes that the snake was probably chilling back at his house. But plot twist, the absolute nightmare, Black Mamba was actually coiled right on his fridge. Before his brain even processed the danger, it struck instantly, taking him out live on camera. Snapping back to his current Murim reality, the boy dramatically pouts, crying internally over the ridiculous irony of getting assassinated by his own target. Just then, an imposing elderly warrior draped in pitch-black robes politely knocks on his broken door. Deeply thanking the young master, he warmly invites him to join their epic feast, revealing a massively hunted roasted deer. His eyes light up like fireworks at the glorious thought of devouring real meat instead of random snakes, so he desperately accepts the offer. The deadly warriors circle around a blazing bonfire while the venison sizzles, catching the starving kid practically drooling over the barbecue. The smiling elder gently tells him to hold his horses until it cooks. To kill the awkward silence, the old man starts interrogating the boy about his age and current survival setup. Blushing slightly from the attention, the kid plays along. He actually felt super awkward, realizing he had been staring at the juicy meat like an absolute zombie. Shaking it off, he focused up and let the powerful elder continue his questioning. The master probed to see if this kid truly lived solo and what his exact age was. Totally clueless. If his current body was 14 or 15, he quickly cooked up a fake story, blaming a childhood head injury for his blurry memories, leaning into the classic amnesia trope. When asked if he survived completely alone, our hero nodded humbly, lying that he had zero martial arts talent and barely survived by hunting venomous snakes and pawning off their scaly skins. The elite elder gasped in shock that a kid tackled such life-threatening danger daily, but our hero simply shrugged, flexing that it was just another casual Tuesday. Suddenly, someone dropped a steaming plate of perfectly roasted meat between them. Chuckling, the elder pointed out how starving the warrior truly was. Holding back tears of joy, our hero aggressively thanked the master, celebrating the fact that it had been literal years since he tasted real, glorious meat. As the savory meat hit his tongue, absolute bliss washed over him. This right here is peak happiness, he thought. The senior martial artists watched the starving kid inhale his food, chuckling softly before taking their chance to dig for information. The white-haired elder revealed their hunt for a bizarre creature, asking if the young traveler had spotted anything abnormal lately. Despite some initial caution, the elder figured sharing the truth was safe. A solitary kid out here posed absolutely zero threat. The clan leader dropped the ultimate bomb. They were tracking down a mythical beast, the azure-spotted centipede. Startled, the boy questioned its massive size. The patriarch gave a chilling answer. A full-grown beast could swallow a teenager whole. The blood drained from his face. His theory of just time traveling back a few centuries completely shattered in that exact second. This was an entirely different dimension. Seeing his raw panic, the white-haired elder quickly promised they were inches away from catching it. Tilting his head, the boy innocently asked if they wanted a giant bug for a pet. The elders cracked up. The senior master burst into roaring laughter. Even the stoic clan leader chuckled, calling the young rogue a total comedian. Wiping away tears, the elder clarified their true motive. They were not taming monsters. They desperately needed its core to forge medicine. Mind-spinning, the protagonist dug deeper. Were these wandering merchants secretly running some kind of underground illegal alchemy lab? He questioned how a venomous bug could heal anyone. The elder instantly darkened with profound sorrow. His precious granddaughter was dying. Only the azure-spotted centipede inner core possessed the miracle energy to cure her terminal illness. The raw desperation of a broken family hit him hard. As much as he actually pitied the misunderstood giant bug, he resolved to assist them. Plus, he owed them for the free barbecue. He immediately shifted into ultimate bug expert mode. The patriarch leaned in, desperate for a sighting. The boy shook his head but smirked, claiming he knew its exact coordinates. Awakening his past life persona as Spicy Fabry, a legendary internet biologist and venomous creature fanatic, his brain went into overdrive. He tapped into an endless well of bug trivia. Out of millions of earthly species, roughly 20,000 packed lethal venom, and he had memorized every single one, centipedes included. Inside his mental palace, a massive encyclopedia materialized out of thin air. Ghostly pages flipped at lightning speed as he scanned for the perfect biological match. Boom, the mental book slammed shut. He locked onto the target data. Snapping back to reality, he boldly announced he could track down this elusive monster. Shocked but totally desperate, the martial masters begged for intel. The boy crossed his arms, grilling them on their previous scouting routes. They confessed to sweeping the Northern and Eastern Academy grounds, mostly combing the damp riverbanks under the blazing sun. The streamer internally face-palmed at their amateur tactics. Flashing a cocky grin, he roasted them. No wonder you failed miserably. The clueless elders demanded answers. Taking center stage, the reincarnated biologist kicked off his ultimate masterclass. He dropped heavy scientific terms classifying the beast within the arthropoda phylum. Gearing up to expose the deepest secrets of the monster, he detailed their diverse ecosystems. As cold-blooded killers, these creatures desperately need specific shelters just to keep their body temperatures stable. They are absolute slaves to humidity. But here's the massive plot twist. Unlike regular bugs rocking waterproof armor, centipedes have completely porous, weak shells. They actually despise soaking wet zones. They crave sticky humidity but actively dodge flooded zones, playing a dangerous survival game, constantly balancing their core moisture levels. Drowning in mud is their worst nightmare. Therefore, hunting an azure-spotted giant inside a dripping jungle is totally pointless. Or along muddy rivers. The martial masters frowned, highly skeptical. Traditional Murim logic dictated bugs lived inside rotting logs. The boy brutally debunked that myth. Sure, tiny bugs hide in wood, but a titan-sized monster, not a chance. Giant species avoid exposed riversides entirely because they offer zero camouflage for their massive bodies. The seasoned elders traded stunned looks. Communicating through pure aura, they made a silent pact. They promised the kid a mountain of gold for the actual coordinates. Flashing a confident smirk, the boy pointed straight west. He ordered them to raid the jagged peaks of the Rocky Mountains. These beasts absorb heat under giant boulders by day, turning into nocturnal apex predators. Hours later, the elite strike team infiltrated the peaks. The clan leader scaled a massive spire, scanning the desolate terrain with his piercing gaze. A subordinate cautiously muttered that the mysterious kid might have scammed them. Defeated, the patriarch fired a signal arrow into the sky, calling off the hunt. Huddled around a crackling campfire, the elite warriors looked totally drained, yet a tiny spark of hope remained. Trusting the genius of the boy, the patriarch stared into the dancing flames. With a shattered voice, he grieved for his precious Hua-yun. She was the ultimate prodigy of the legendary Tang clan. Why was heaven cursing their greatest star? Suddenly, footsteps echoed as the Grand Patriarch emerged. The leader quickly stood up, making room by the fire. The older legend shook his head, delivering crushing news. His solo tracking mission had completely failed. With Hua-yun rapidly deteriorating, the Grim Reaper was literally just months away. Finding that beast in 10 days felt impossible. A suffocating silence choked the air. The Patriarch proposed scouring the southern territory at dawn. The Grand Patriarch nodded, though the absolute lack of any tracks deeply haunted his mind. Suddenly, manic laughter erupted from the Patriarch. A brilliant realization hit him: they were standing exactly where they needed to be. Confused, the Grand Patriarch demanded if he had spotted a clue. The Patriarch smirked, shaking his head before dropping a massive bombshell. He revealed that this eerie emptiness, no beasts, no droppings, absolute silence, was the ultimate proof. That the monster had wiped the zone completely clean. It clicked instantly. Lesser predators had aggressively sprinted away, or become its midnight snack. Grinning fiercely, the Grand Patriarch knew the legendary blue spot centipede was lurking right under their noses. Hope for Hua-yun blazed back to life. Suddenly, a violent earthquake shredded the ground, swallowing their campfire in jagged, crumbling craters. A monstrous, razor-sharp leg violently stabbed through the dirt. Then another. Pure terror paralyzed the warriors as the colossal blue spot centipede breached. Even the fearless Grand Patriarch broke into a cold sweat. Meanwhile, our main character casually complained about the distant tremors. He guessed the bug had to be titangent-sized to shake the whole mountain. As a hardcore Venom fanatic, burning curiosity completely overpowered his annoyance. Man, he desperately wanted a front-row seat. Back at the craggy peaks, an absolute bloodbath against the nightmare bug exploded. The warriors barely survived the slaughter, coughing up blood, but they secured the ultimate winning prize. A glowing sapphire core safely locked inside a wooden chest. Grown men openly sobbed, knowing Hua-yun would finally cheat death. The Patriarch commanded his second-in-command to drag their battered survivors to Sichuan for immediate healing. Questioned about staying behind, his eyes hardened. Grudges bleed out, but debts of gratitude are engraved in absolute stone. That is the Murim way. Simply put, they had one massive unpaid debt left to settle. Reality slapped the Grand Patriarch hard. He confessed his tunnel vision on saving Hua-yun almost destroyed their strict honor. He eagerly agreed to treat our hero like absolute royalty and grant any wish. Giving his final orders, the Patriarch sent the men to receive urgent medical treatment while he pivoted toward the young hero's dorm room. He pondered that the kid was probably dying to hear about the insane battle. Meanwhile, our protagonist was just casually chilling out. With 3 adorable golden Pokemon-looking little blobs, he had just stumbled into the absolute weirdest situation. Plot twist: he became a single dad to triplet monster centipedes. These tiny nuggets looked exactly like squishy caterpillars. They were insanely precious, nuzzling his cheeks affectionately. Glancing at his empty clay pot, the chaotic night flooded his brain. He had scrubbed those stolen eggs spotless and left them safely on his nightstand. Fast forward to morning. Boom, an absolute surprise adoption. One baby bug literally used his hair as a cozy nest. Sure, he knew they would hatch eventually, but this insane speedrun caught him completely off guard. He gently tried peeling the clingy babies off his shoulders, but they clamped down with stubbornness, treating him as their absolute mother. A quick flashback showed the sheer madness of last night. Hyped up by the monster bug rumors, he had stealthily infiltrated the beast's deadly cavern, totally ignoring the massive red flags. Searching the pitch dark, he aggressively punted a random bug in frustration. He instantly wiped out, dropping his only flaming torch. Miraculously, his newly looted triple egg combo survived the brutal fall. Stepping into the clear night, it hit him pulling off this legendary heist without shattering his loot was pure plot armor. Vowing to guard his precious cargo, he dashed straight home, swearing he would scrub them sparkling clean later. Snapping back to reality, a massive grin crossed his face. He completely missed the giant boss fight but snagged its ultimate secret pets. Good news, they did not need feeding until their second evolution. Bad news, surviving their hyperactive affection was a quest. Dealing with them constantly glued to his skin. Flashing a devious smirk, he realized a freezing shower was the ultimate escape, hoping the cold water would force them off. Meanwhile, the battle-scarred Patriarch swaggered up to the boys' quiet dorm building. He rapped firmly on the wood, shouting for our hero, but heard zero response. Pausing for just a second, he boldly twisted the handle and entered. The place looked like a crazy alchemist's den. Stacks of mystical herbs and sketchy potions made him question everything. Feeling completely guilty for trespassing uninvited, he turned to bail until a sinister scratching echoed from a nearby clay pot. Curiosity, overriding logic. He peeked inside, finding a giant venomous spider. Yanking a drawer open, a creepy gecko stared back. Another jar held flesh-eating beetles, unhatched horrors, and crispy snake corpses. The elder's jaw practically hit the floor in pure shock. How was this teenager farming nightmare fuel monsters like household pets? Even the legendary Tang family assassins, the absolute masters of poison, only milked venom. Nobody ever bred these demonic creatures from scratch. A massive realization sent shivers down his spine. Meeting this terrifyingly gifted kid was destiny's greatest jackpot. Moving past their bizarre centipede encounter, the young warrior stepped up with a warm greeting, though his eyes instantly locked onto the heavily bandaged arm of the elder. Brushing off his bloody wound, the elder prepared a massive revelation, but a sudden, suffocating demonic aura instantly cut him off. Boom! The entrance violently shattered behind them, revealing a terrifying silhouette emerging through the dust. As the smoke cleared, a nightmarish Cyclops appeared, his twisted face dominated by a glaring eye and gruesome burn scars. Sensing death, the elder frantically shoved the kid aside, screaming at him to flee. The totally bewildered boy stumbled back. Suddenly, the monstrous intruder unleashed an ear-shattering roar, closing the gap in a flash with a lethal palm strike. Desperate, the elder blocked the devastating blow, his bones screaming under the agonizing impact. The brute mercilessly swatted the elder away, sending him violently crashing into the dirt. Thick dust choked the air as the old man desperately gasped for oxygen. Hacking up dark blood, he realized this beast packed the terrifying power of his legendary father. He frantically begged the young warrior to escape, but as the debris settled, a horrifying sight emerged. The helpless boy dangled midair, violently choking in the crushing grip of the giant. The boy clawed desperately for oxygen while the beast roared with sadistic, booming laughter. The scarred brute taunted them, smirking that rumors of the infamous Tang clan infiltrating Hainan were actually true. He sneered wickedly, mocking how pathetic it was to find the mighty son of the myriad poisons divine sovereign bleeding out all alone. Keeping his cool, the elder spat, that he did not recognize this ugly mug, fiercely demanding to know why they were on his hit list. The beast scoffed, flexing his lethal hands and asking if his melted face was not obvious enough. He proudly declared himself Taken Yang, the blood hand Rakshasa, violently blaming the father of the elder for his horrific, mutilated appearance. The elder froze in realization. Taken Yang supposedly took a lethal poison strike and plummeted off a massive cliff to his permanent grave. Yet here this nightmare stood, radiating pure, vengeful bloodlust. Swallowing his pride, the elder desperately tried negotiating, begging him to spare the innocent kid, even offering his own head as a trade. But Taken coldly rejected it, roaring his vow to slaughter the entire Tang clan. Gritting his teeth, the elder internally cursed this absolute menace, a chaotic demon hell-bent on martial world destruction. Sparing the kid was never an option. As the face of the boy drained of color from absolute suffocation, the Rakshasa flashed a deeply sinister sneer and readied his final strike. The fading boy choked out a desperate plea, his remaining strength rapidly draining away. Suddenly, 3 pairs of glowing predatory eyes pierced the shadows. The tiny centipedes launched onto the bulging arm of Taken. Shedding their cute act, the bugs unleashed their monster nature, sinking razor-sharp fangs into his thick skin. Taken flinched arrogantly, roaring that pathetic bugs could never pierce him. But mid-sentence his neck flared a toxic purple, and he violently vomited black blood before crashing down in agony. Finally able to breathe, the boy stumbled backward in total shock. Staring at the corpse, he nervously asked the elder if Taken was truly evil. Completely shell-shocked himself, the elder could only stare blankly at the massive, lifeless bulk of Taken rotting there. Slowly, that stunned silence morphed into a massive grin. He realized this kid was not just a random guest, but an absolute hidden gem. The elder internally swore he had to recruit this prodigy into the Tang clan. Fast forward a few days later, while recovering, the young warrior played the perfect nurse, gently pressing a damp cloth to his forehead. Deeply moved, the elder warmly thanked him. But the humble kid quickly brushed it off, asking instead for the exact location of his missing crew, so he could check their safety. However, knowing he absolutely could not abandon a wounded man without a doctor, the loyal boy ultimately decided to stay right by his side. The elder smoothly promised that a little sleep would heal him, yet the boy stared in utter disbelief, mind blown by how unbelievably chill he remained despite severe injuries. Explaining the insane superhuman resilience of true martial artists, the elder laughed. Eyes wide with wonder, the boy gasped, asking if these warriors could fly, or maybe shoot raging fireballs. The elder chuckled heartily, softly admitting that, while extremely rare, those god-tier feats were not entirely impossible. Soryong shook his head in absolute awe at this magical world, figuring that if giant killer centipedes existed, literal magic powers probably did too. Proudly, the old man introduced himself as Tang Kelson of the legendary Sichuan Tang clan. Bowing respectfully, the boy revealed his name to be Wei Soryong. Kelson instantly caught the hidden meaning, softly muttering that little dragon was an incredibly fitting title. Intensely curious, Kelson begged to know if the tiny bugs on Soryong were actually venomous. Without batting an eye, Soryong casually tickled the belly of his deadly pet, cheerfully confirming they were ultra-rare blue spot centipedes. That massive bombshell literally made Kelson jump out of bed in pure shock. He frantically demanded if Soryong tamed them, and how he pulled off such an impossible miracle. Soryong flashed a mysterious smile, teasing it was a crazy long story. With Kelson begging for details, Soryong sat back and dropped lore about how he raised these terrifying monsters straight from eggs. As the wild tale ended, Kelson was utterly speechless. Desperate for reality, he asked for confirmation. Soryong proudly puffed his chest, swearing. He raised them since day one, calculating their hatch time. Still reeling, Kelson watched in silence as Soryong casually opened a drawer. He produced 2 distinct lizards. The young martial artist beamed proudly, highlighting their contrasting features. One rocked earthy scales with striking yellow-white bands. The second, a custom-bred masterpiece boasting a sleek mocha chassis and an ivory tail. Kelson questioned if Soryong deliberately engineered these wild colorways. The kid's cheeks flushed pink. Soryong grinned sheepishly, confessing he literally just bred them for the aesthetics. Kelson braced himself, dropping a heavy question. Could this prodigy crossbreed top-tier venomous beasts into absolute nightmares? Wait, what? Soryong blinked. His brain gears turned rapidly. Honestly, the math totally checked out. He hypothesized that by pinpointing the absolute most toxic apex predators in existence, it could totally work. Boom! Kelson practically vibrated with hype. For real. The Patriarch's explosive energy definitely startled Soryong. Kelson instantly demanded Soryong join his legendary clan right now. The poor kid stood there completely blue-screened. Kelson aggressively upped the stakes. Join the clan and unlock exclusive VIP access to divine martial arts, mythic elixirs, rare herbs, and unlimited lethal toxins. The Patriarch kept dangling the bait, hyping that a beast-taming genius like Soryong could totally dominate the Central Plains' legendary top 10 venomous calamities. Still not sold, Kelson smoothly name-dropped an ultimate prize, one of the Central Plains' 3 divine flowers. His own gorgeous daughter. Time out! Soryong panicked, demanding instant clarification. Smirking, the cunning Patriarch teased the flustered boy. You're still a red-blooded man, right? Kelson kept pushing the romance angle, but Soryong frantically pumped the brakes, begging him to drop the marriage talk. Desperate to pivot, Soryong aggressively interrogated him about those top 10 venomous beasts. Were they seriously as overpowered as his blue spot centipede? Kelson's eyes gleamed, eagerly confirming, explaining that the blue spot was absolute child's play compared to those mythic, god-tier monsters. We're talking colossal nightmare scorpions and radiant golden frogs. Their power levels literally defied human logic. Kelson smirked like a supervillain. He totally had him hooked. The rookie's eyes literally exploded with starry-eyed hype. 48 hours later, a Tang clan elite crashed in, completely panicking over sightings of the dreaded Blood Hand Rakshasa. Kelson revealed this demon had been grinding in the shadows, evolving his lethal arts to rival the previous Patriarch's god-tier strength. The clan elites sweated bullets, theorizing that if Kelson had personally soloed this monstrous villain, then he must have unlocked the legendary realm of 10,000 poisons. They instantly started kissing up, but Kelson shattered their illusions. He didn't execute Unyang, the rookie did. This plot twist absolutely nuked the elite's brains. One dude aggressively grabbed Soryong's hands, practically crying tears of gratitude. They deadass wondered if this kid was a disguised grandmaster, using some forbidden youth-restoring technique. Thoroughly weirded out by this boomer energy, Soryong shot Kelson a massive help-me glare. Kelson subtly nodded, prompting a grand reveal. Catching the vibe, Soryong tapped his jacket and confidently summoned his squad. Showtime, boys. The Tang elite stood paralyzed as the fabric shifted, and 3 vicious little centipedes slithered into the light. Shocked gasps echoed through the room as these tiny, lethal weapons marched forward. The elites instantly recognized the catastrophic blue spot centipedes. Kelson dropped the ultimate mic. These literal bugs had assassinated the mighty Unyang. Jaws hit the floor. Domineering such chaotic, venomous beasts was mathematically impossible. Kelson dramatically announced Soryong's immediate draft into the Supreme Tang clan, but Soryong totally pumped the brakes, needing processing time. An elite hyped up this once-in-a-lifetime golden ticket, but Kelson pressured the kid to gear up immediately, hinting at a ticking time bomb. The Patriarch then lore-dropped the sickening reality of Unyang's demonic combat style, the cursed, blood hand, poison claw. An abyssal technique demanding fresh human blood and marrow to achieve maximum supremacy. Soryong physically gagged at the horror. Kelson gravely warned that if this monster left behind hidden manuals or fanatic disciples, they had to purge everything. They couldn't let this apocalyptic dark art infect the Murim again. Plus, they desperately needed to save any surviving hostages. The Patriarch basically begged the rookie to carry the mission, leveraging his local Hainan Island street smarts. Soryong rubbed his chin. Processing that, joining this legendary faction meant signing away his soul. His inner monologue clicked before blindly accepting he needed to heavily vibe check these people. Treating this raid like an intense corporate internship, Soryong agreed to deploy once Kelson healed up. The room erupted in massive cheers. But secretly, the cunning rookie planned to ruthlessly audit the almighty Tang clan's actual worth. 72 hours later, Kelson successfully recovered his strength. The dynamic duo launched their expedition toward a remote village. Flanking a ruined academy heavily suspected as Eun-young's hidden villain lair, the squad dove straight into the vanishing villager mystery. One elder brushed it off, claiming the jungle always swallowed a soul or two annually. Yet absolutely zero patterns linked these shadowy fade-outs together. Chilsoon's eyes darkened, gears turning. The crew tossed the chief a quick nod of gratitude. Bowing low, the chief practically groveled, insanely honored to aid the legendary Sichuan Tang clan patriarch. They bounced, walking away with absolutely zero solid clues in hand. Trekking through the dense, sprawling woods, Soryong nudged Chilsoon, pointing out how aggressively normal and perfectly boring that settlement felt. Chilsoon shot back that Eun-young totally crashed the party right in this zone, but locking down the exact drop zone was impossible. Soryong frowned, seriously creeped out by the absolute lack of footprints. A light bulb suddenly flashed in Soryong's brain. He pressed Chilsoon to remember Eun-young's exact trash talk during his epic entrance. Chilsoon winced, admitting his memory was blurry since Eun-young's brutal strike had literally launched him. Soryong dropped the facts. Eun-young totally bragged about knowing the Tang clan hit Hainan. Some shadowy rat definitely snitched on their supposedly stealthy arrival. Soryong pitched a genius master plan backtrack through every single Hainan pit stop, flashing Eun-young's mugshot to literally anyone with eyes. The Tang squad gasped, totally mind-blown by Soryong's big brain energy. A random eyewitness leaking their coordinates to Eun-young made total sense. Hyped up, the crew rushed out, eventually stumbling into an insanely creepy ghost town. A Tang scout whispered about sketchy port gossip. Rumors claimed this was their jackpot destination. Chilsoon nodded, verifying it as the ultimate sanctuary for the reclusive Halai tribe. Expecting zero beef, but the entire zone radiated a chilling, straight-up dead vibe. The moment the Tang squad hollered for a pulse, a lone local locked eyes with them. These folks looked completely drained. A trembling senior, probably the head honcho, slowly shuffled closer, tightly gripping a fragile little girl's hand. Two pale guards dragged behind them. Chilsoon bowed, dropping a respectful intro. Scanning the scene, Soryong felt chills, seeing the kid's hollow eyes and the tribe's zombified aura. Soryong's radar went off. Half the crowd looked wildly drugged out of their minds. The chief played dumb aggressively, swearing nobody vanished and nothing chaotic went down. He coldly ordered the crew to scram. Chilsoon tried pushing back, calling out the massive ghost town layout versus the tiny surviving population. But the elder snapped, cutting him off mid-sentence, and brutally demanded they pack up and vanish. Soryong and Chilsoon traded confused glares. Chilsoon leaned in quietly, questioning why the notoriously friendly Halai were acting this violently hostile. Soryong stood speechless. Boom, out of nowhere, the tiny girl face-planted. Panic exploded. The elder instantly snatched her up, heavy tears welling up in his terrified eyes. He screamed her name in absolute agony, crying that she was his final living bloodline, begging her to stay. Heartstrings tugged. Chilsoon confidently stepped up. He offered a lifeline, flexing his hidden medical mastery to the desperate crowd. Freezing up, the chief suspiciously questioned if it was Central Plains healing magic. Chilsoon nodded, clarifying that while not a doctor, he totally possessed insane healing skills. The elder finally caved, granting access. But before crossing the threshold, he dropped heavy lore. A demonic plague was sweeping through, slaughtering kids and draining buff warriors dry. He desperately prayed Chilsoon could save his little angel. Chilsoon swore on his life to try. While stepping inside the gloomy hut, Soryong quietly cornered a Tang operative, doubting if the old master actually knew healing magic. The subordinate smirked, bragging that the Tang clan's legendary toxin mastery naturally turned them into god-tier medics. He hyped up how intense martial arts training demands ultimate mastery over human anatomy, so healing basically came as a bonus. Soryong silently plotted that if he ever joined this crazy poison guild, grinding medical arts sounded way better than messing with their nightmare fuel venom styles. Suddenly, his daydream shattered when the guy nonchalantly dropped that the clan regularly used captured villains as live guinea pigs for brutal testing. Soryong's face instantly morphed into pure comedic horror. Realizing he was chilling with literal human experimenters sent massive shivers down his spine. Outside the village remained suffocatingly dead silent. Deep inside the dusty cabin, Chilsoon exhaled heavily, revealing he just pumped pure martial chi into the tiny girl's veins, smoothing out her ragged breathing. Sobbing with intense gratitude, the chief begged them to cure his last relative. Chilsoon suddenly shifted the vibe, zeroing in on a wildly abnormal rhythm beating inside the kid's tiny wrist. He grilled the elder about any birth defects in her heart. Shaking his head, the chief confessed this nightmare started exactly 6 months back. Worse yet, it wasn't just his granddaughter. Half the tribe began dropping like flies right around that exact same timeline. Locals whispered about a terrifying unidentified plague. That's exactly why the terrified chief practically begged our crew to bounce the second we hit the village gates. But Kelson just smirked, promising a legendary elixir to heal their failing hearts. He ordered the trembling elder to round up every single local for a massive cure drop. Overwhelmed by this massive flex of mercy, the chief absolutely broke down, sobbing absolute rivers of pure gratitude. Soryong watched from the shadows, totally mesmerized by Kelson's boss energy. Deep into the night, while Kelson patrolled alongside Pai, a deadly enforcer of the infamous Tang clan, Pai gave mad props to Kelson for grinding so hard to save these random peasants. Kelson nodded, brushing off the praise before Pai interrogated him about the plague's exact vibes. Insane exhaustion, Kelson muttered darkly. Bulging eyes, boiling fevers, and chaotic heartbeats. But the absolute worst victims. Their hearts are literally tearing themselves apart. Suddenly curious, Kelson demanded Soryong's location. Pai figured the kid was completely dead on his feet, having zero martial arts stamina but hustling anyway, and crashed hard in his room. Kelson totally understood the burnout and decided to scope out the sleeping rookie himself. Pai immediately led the charge. Busting into Soryong's quarters, they spotted the kid completely knocked out dead to the world, while 3 massive venomous centipedes chilled inside a nearby basket. Kelson scoped the vibe from the threshold before aggressively storming in. Zero hesitation. Smack. He ruthlessly backhanded Soryong's face. The boy violently jolted awake, desperately gripping his burning red-hot cheek. Totally disoriented and throbbing with pain, he shrieked, demanding answers for the unprovoked assault. Kelson, rocking a dead-serious glare, offered a chilling apology, claiming a sketchy insect had landed on Soryong's face, and he was just playing exterminator. Soryong shot him a massive side-eye but let the dude keep talking. Kelson claimed he merely swung by to monitor him, before crashing but spotted the creeper. Since this whole territory is crawling with lethal bugs, he relied on pure reflex to save Soryong's life. He dramatically revealed the crushed corpse, a massive, totally cursed-looking critter. Soryong practically jumped out of his skin, before his brain went into overdrive, connecting the invisible dots. He frantically asked Kelson if every single patient shared one identical underlying glitch. Heart arrhythmia. Kelson locked eyes and nodded. It hit Soryong like a truck. He finally unlocked the village's terrifying invisible mystery. Pointing at the mangled insect, he exposed the true mastermind. That's a kissing bug, a nasty assassin straight from the Reduviidae family. These literal vampires feast on human blood, targeting your eyes or lips while you sleep, operating so insanely stealthy. They drain you quieter than a mosquito. Sure, these assassin bugs don't pack actual venom in their fangs, but their guts are loaded with lethal parasites. While feeding their gross leftovers infect victims with Chagas disease, an absolute top-tier killer when it comes to animal-caused human fatalities. Spinning around, Soryong urgently interrogated the village chief, demanding to know if the local dogs were suffocating and panting heavily, mirroring the exact same doomed vibe as the humans. The elder vigorously nodded, terrified that this tiny monster was their grim reaper. Soryong slam-dunked the theory, promising that with top-tier meds, his precious granddaughter and the whole squad would totally survive. Kelson flashed a cocky smirk, nudging Pai. Pai hyped up Soryong's insane IQ, labeling him a rookie warrior destined for absolute greatness. Catching their weirdly intense smirks, Soryong stood there totally clueless and sweating profusely. They casually dropped their massive flex. We are the absolute legends of the Sichuan Tong clan. But seeing Soryong's blank NPC-like stare, Kelson realized the kid didn't grasp their god-tier status, and echoed it louder. Inside his head, Soryong just went, okay, and his accidentally annoyed derpy face had them secretly dying of laughter. Kelson pivoted, diving into the terrifying lore of demonic goo. Normies thought they were just toxic worms while others screamed dark magic, but Kelson laid out the brutal, undeniable truth. Psychopathic martial artists bred these nightmare bugs purely to inflict torture and mind control their enemies. They'd force-feed these monsters to victims, triggering absolute agonizing agony or turning them into mindless zombies. Soryong thought this sounded like straight-up fantasy nonsense. Kelson admitted it sounded like pure sci-fi, but dropped the bomb that countless elite warriors had been brutally assassinated by goo, brainwashed into slaughtering their own bloodlines, or chained as eternal slaves to dark masters. That's exactly why. The grind to invent ultimate anti-goo elixirs never stopped. These godly cures could violently purge the demonic parasites from a victim's core, or just vaporize them into nothingness. Hearing this, Soryong finally felt the heavy life-or-death stakes. Then, Kelson hit him with a trivia question. If anyone actually unlocked the perfect antidote, who's taking the crown? Puffing his chest out, Kelson arrogantly declared, it could only be the legendary, unbeatable Sichuan Tang family. He bragged that if their medicine could literally melt a fist-sized demon worm inside your guts, then vaporizing some microscopic assassin bug was a total walk in the park. Flourishing his hand, he unveiled the epic curse-melting orb, claiming just a tiny fraction of this god-tier pill would solo the plague. Soryong faked a polite smile, but deep down he totally cringed at how extra the name sounded for what was basically just hardcore deworming medication. They hyped up the chief, promising his granddaughter's absolute survival. And boom, like magic, the doomed villagers started bouncing back, with her leading the charge. The elder wept tears of pure relief, showering our squad with a massive, unexpectedly legendary VIP feast. The villagers, radiating pure golden retriever energy, they absolutely proved their legendary upbeat reputation. Kelson admitted they would be completely doomed if Soryong had not instantly pinpointed the exact root of that brutal plague. Deflecting all praise, he crowned Soryong as their ultimate savior. Even though the legendary Tang clan elixirs actually cured everyone, Kelson proudly pushed all the glory onto Soryong. Seeing the locals worship, the kid gave Kelson immense, overwhelming joy, as if he were the main character. Deeply moved, Soryong teared up, while the ecstatic crowd absolutely erupted, violently tossing Soryong into the sky like a total hero. Later on, the village elder discreetly cornered Kelson to finish their earlier chat. When Kelson pressed for answers, the elder dropped a bombshell about neighboring settlements wiped out by mysterious disappearances. Instantly hooked, Kelson demanded the full scoop. The chief revealed that a local woman hailing from a distant territory had spilled a truly blood-chilling nightmarish tale. Decades back, her entire hometown was decimated when people vanished into thin air. Now, the dark truth was finally surfacing. Kelson demanded coordinates, and the elder pointed straight west. Stepping into the zone, a gag-inducing stench of rotting flesh hit them, proving they found absolute ground zero. The wasteland was pure nightmare fuel, with mutilated corpses, rotting trash, and swarming bugs. Suffocating under a thick, toxic miasma, Pai desperately shielded the eyes of Soryong, but the kid had already witnessed the absolute carnage. Through the gore, someone spotted a bizarre golden claw poking through the rubble. Looking closer, it actually belonged to a massive avian beast, an absolutely breathtaking monster flaunting a radiant golden tail and killer neon purple-pink and pitch-black plumage. This majestic beast literally leaked a terrifying magical aura. Triggered by the creature disrespecting the dead, one furious guy aggressively chucked a boulder. Kelson desperately lunged to stop him, but the wildly off-target rock instantly grabbed the deadly full attention of the predator. His survival instincts screaming, Kelson gripped the shoulder of the guy, warning everyone that a lethal threat was about to drop. The monster flexed its wings, unleashing an acid-like death smog that instantly liquefied bone. Panicking Soryong was violently yanked back, his mouth clamped shut to block the fatal gas. Barking like a general, Kelson ordered an immediate desperate retreat. Body-blocking Soryong, he exposed the true identity of the monster as a mythical Jin Yao, the venom-feathered nightmare, catching their breath. The survivors huddled around Kelson as he dropped the lore, rocking a massive 5-foot wingspan, sporting a razor-sharp bronze beak, and dripping in toxic neon purple plumage. Just one flinch from this beast could wipe out armies, corrupting the very air into pure venom. Rocking a shiny golden crown, it absolutely screamed majestic boss-level terror. Completely starry-eyed, Soryong hyped up, asking if it belonged to the legendary 10 great venomous beasts. Kelson nodded grimly, dropping the heavy truth that the Jin Yao, ranked absolute number 1, reigning as the undisputed king of venom. Soryong was literally vibrating with hype, realizing even the deadliest vipers were just absolute jokes compared to this boss. Kelson revealed this apex predator was totally lured here by toxic serpents exclusively snacking on their venomous brains. When Soryong asked about its spawn rate, Kelson smirked, calling it an ultra-rare once-in-a-century encounter. Utterly captivated, the kid boldly asked if they could actually tame the beast. The jaws of the entire Tang squad dropped, but Kelson, he just chuckled, challenging if the kid actually had the guts to catch it. Soryong fiercely nodded yes, though he totally sweated the lethal poison. Flashing a sly grin, Kelson noted the hardcore obsession of the kid with the ultimate. Toxic beasts dangling a massive bait that if Soryong was dead serious, a secret method totally existed. Soryong gasped in absolute shock. Kelson smoothly pitched that mastering the legendary Tang clan poison arts would literally grant absolute god-tier immunity to every toxin, easily tanking even the lethal strikes of the Jin Yao. Only their exclusive top-tier martial arts could perfectly neutralize all deadly earthly poisons. Playing four-dimensional chess, Kelson smoothly dropped the catch that their ultimate techniques are strictly forbidden to absolute outsiders. Even wanting to help as the reigning patriarch, he simply could not shatter sacred clan law. Hooked, Soryong desperately asked if joining their bloodline would unlock the skill tree. He frantically double-checked if maxing out poison resistance would actually let him tank the Jin Yao. Kelson gave a hard yes, swearing to download every secret technique into his brain instantly. He even flexed, promising to personally carry his leveling journey. But he slyly warned that if Soryong stalled too long, this elite VIP offer vanishes. Sweating bullets, Soryong instantly pledged loyalty to the clan, insanely hyped for the mentorship of Kelson, smoothly calling him patriarch instead of just elder. A totally wicked, satisfied smirk flashed across the face of Kelson, completely masking his master-level manipulation of the poor kid. Kelson proudly declared that from this exact second, Soryong was officially Tang blood forever. Meanwhile, back at the rotting wasteland, chilling clues of the brutal ambush of the Blood Hand, Rakshasa on Yang, surfaced inside a dark cavern. Bloody footprints revealed a hidden journal, quickly delivered straight to Kelson. Speed reading the cursed pages, his eyes widened as it contained the legendary forbidden blood arts. The hand poison claw. Soryong shuddered, realizing the sinister text was literally inked in blood. Chilson called it, deciding it was time to retreat. Soryong questioned if their next stop was Sichuan. Chilson nodded, confirming it was their absolute best move. Since they finally bagged the Blue Spot Centipede's core and that cursed manual, Soryong asked for a quick academy pit stop to free his squad and pack his gear. Chilson gave the green light. While leaving, Soryong caught a strange glimmer behind them. He pointed it out, revealing a radiant purple feather dropped by the Jin Yao. The crew stared in awe before Chilson snatched it up, handing it to Soryong as a legendary welcome gift for officially joining the family. Hyped Soryong grinned and expressed his deep gratitude, but Chilson smirked, hinting he would need to drop the formalities and change his title after the upcoming initiation. Soryong mentally braced himself for whatever crazy ritual awaited him. Meanwhile, back at the legendary Tang clan estate, Grand Patriarch Tang Musong crashed through the gates, utterly drained but desperate for an update on Huayan's fading pulse. Panicking servants escorted him inside, whispering that she was practically knocking on death's door. The heavy doors slammed open, and Musong desperately screamed, Huayan's name shocking the somber room. He immediately locked eyes with his tearful daughter-in-law, flashing the ultimate lifesaver, the Blue Spot Centipede's glowing core. Seeing the cure, her mother completely broke down, sobbing in pure relief. They scrambled to prep the antidote. Seeing Huayan's agonizingly pale face, Musong thanked the heavens he had made it back before tragedy struck. Urged by her mother, Musong fed the core to his dying granddaughter. Instantly, an ethereal blue aura erupted around her fragile body, while he pressed 2 fingers to her wrist. The entire room held their breath, praying for those beautiful eyes to finally flutter open. Cut back to Soryong battling major travel fatigue, while absolutely mind-blown by the sheer endless scale of the Central Plains. It had been a brutal month-and-a-half grind, sailing from Hainan to Hangzhou, then trekking straight through Nanjing's bustling streets, before finally hitting Sichuan territory, the legendary Tang clan's stomping grounds. Pai hyped up Soryong, screaming that they had finally arrived. Staring up at the colossal gates, Soryong's jaw hit the floor. The family literally owned the entire peak, appropriately dubbed Tang Clan Mountain. He gulped hard, totally overwhelmed by the massive flex. Instantly, an army of clan members swarmed out to welcome their patriarch. Soryong practically short-circuited at the sheer head count, wondering how this single family was so massive. Piercing through the crowd, a stunning girl in crimson silk sprinted forward, her face totally glowing with happy tears. Screaming for her dad, it was none other than Huayan. She crashed into his arms, sobbing uncontrollably from pure relief. Soryong, he was absolutely paralyzed. Her goddess tier beauty completely broke his brain, making his past life celebrity ex look painfully average. Beaming with fatherly pride, Chilson proudly introduced the surviving Huayan to a stunned Soryong. Still buffering, Soryong desperately tried connecting Chilson's old hints, awkwardly mumbling something about weeds and grass. Chilson laughed, correcting him that it was always about the beautiful flower. Huayan instantly turned tomato red. Chilson dropped the bomb. This gorgeous girl was the exact flower Soryong had previously brushed off. Soryong's soul left his body. Flashbacks of his incredibly arrogant rejection hit him like a truck. Mortified Soryong realized he had monumentally fumbled the bag. He never dreamed he had casually friend-zoned an absolute goddess, who also happened to be the Sichuan Tang clan's sole heiress, the legendary venomous flower Tang Huayan. But behind that stunning face, she had always carried brutal childhood trauma. She once caught the elders gossiping. They heavily doubted her martial potential, but absolutely hyped up her unreal beauty, easily cementing her status among the Murim's top 3 breathtaking beauties. The boomers then debated marrying her off. One elder even dared suggest the patriarch should take a second wife, which the patriarch had furiously shut down. Hearing their disrespect, Huayan swore to completely dominate the clan's martial arts and prove them wrong. She was desperate to prove her gender would never stop her from becoming the family's absolute ultimate weapon. But her toxic obsession birthed a vicious heart demon, triggering a catastrophic chi deviation during her intense training. Blinking awake, Huayan found her tearful mother, the Grand Patriarch, and 2 medics hovering anxiously over her bed. Hot tears spilled down her cheeks as she sobbed, devastated that she had shattered her core and completely failed the family. Her grandfather affectionately called her a foolish brat, ordering her to stop crying. He praised her insane grind, reminding her she had successfully mastered 100 deadly poisons, demanding she smile. But Huayan just looked deeply confused by that 100 poisons comment. Glancing down, she saw her terrifying new aura pulsing. The Grand Patriarch then dropped the lore about a mysterious, overpowered young warrior who had miraculously saved her from death's door, while simultaneously gifting her the god-tier chi of 1,000 poisons, completely shattering her previous limits. Back in the present, Huayan playfully brought up the weed comment, mentally destroying Soryong. His arrogant trash-talking past echoed in his brain. He internally screamed, violently cursing his own past self for fumbling so hard. He desperately laughed off the tension, joking that the Patriarch took his casual banter way too literally. Composing himself, he offered a formal bow, expressing absolute relief at her recovery. The beauty finally introduced herself as Tang Huayan, the legendary venomous flower. Bowing her head, she swore an unbreakable oath to forever cherish his life-saving grace. Completely captivated by her radiant beauty, Soryong's brain totally short-circuited. Kilson shattered the silence, asking for his thoughts on his daughter. Soryong flinched as a voice suddenly echoed inside his skull. It was a high-level telepathic sound transmission. Kilson smugly bragged about his daughter's unmatched beauty, heavily dropping hints about the two of them getting intimately close. Later, Soryong sank into a massive hot bath, feeling totally wiped out. Beside him, his pet centipedes snoozed peacefully inside their basket. Suddenly, one cracked its eyes open and literally smiled at him. Despite looking totally terrifying, these little guys clearly understood human speech when he warned them about the boiling water, obediently chilling in their bucket just like he asked. Chuckling at their cuteness, Soryong remembered Pai calling them legendary spiritual beasts. He vowed to research their hidden potential later, but honestly, Kilson's teasing remarks about Huayan kept echoing, making his heart race. Meanwhile, heavy tension filled another pavilion's grand table. The Grand Patriarch Kilson, his elegant wife, and Huayan all gathered around. Kilson boldly declared he was giving Soryong the East Wing Room, an exclusive space strictly meant for married couples. The Grand Patriarch challenged the kid's actual worth. Kilson nodded with absolute confidence, swearing that Soryong's monstrous talents were definitely not just dumb luck. He hyped up Soryong's absolute mastery over deadly toxic creatures, but highlighted how he crushed Ouyang, tamed mythical beasts, and personally hatched the ultra-rare blue spot centipedes. The Grand Patriarch praised Kilson's insane luck in discovering this absolute gem. Instantly, all eyes shifted right toward Huayan. Kilson bluntly dropped the bomb, admitting he wanted Soryong as his official son-in-law, demanding her honest take. The massive weight of her father's words finally clicked. Silence immediately swallowed her. Burning with ambition, Huayan craved to prove her ultimate worth to the clan after awakening the legendary 1,000 Poisons constitution, totally eclipsing the basic 100 Poisons level. Keeping her cool, she acknowledged her father's grand scheme for their powerful family, but she fiercely pushed back, declaring it was her absolute right to test if this rookie truly deserved her. Ignoring their shocked faces, she bolted from the grand hall, leaving a painfully thick and awkward silence behind. Kilson chuckled internally, praying the poor kid survives this, because while his precious rose was breathtakingly gorgeous, her deadly thorns could shred armor. Huayan sprinted through the courtyard, her mind spiraling. With her massive power awakening, settling for less was completely out of the question. Without reaching the absolute peak, those stubborn elders would never respect her. She swore to ruthlessly test this guy, judging both his combat skills and true character. Meanwhile, Soryong paced nervously, totally stressing over this political minefield. He was terrified. The icy beauty secretly hated his guts. Half-jokingly, he begged his centipede babies for advice. Boom, Huayan suddenly materialized right in front of him, leaving him totally paralyzed. She looked insanely gorgeous. Seriously, guys, the godly artwork here screams top-tier martial arts masterpiece. Snapping back to reality, Huayan skipped the small talk. Claiming she was super rushed, she boldly demanded his hand. Blushing furiously, Soryong nervously held out his shaking hand, feeling exactly like a puppy offering its paw to its master. Sweating bullets, he nervously stammered that they should probably save the physical touch for when they were officially dating. Since romance definitely has rules, Huayan turned into a statue, her brain finally processing his massive, embarrassing leap of logic. Her cheeks exploded into bright crimson tomatoes as she frantically waved her hands, swearing she did not mean it like that. Dying of cringe, Soryong wanted the floor to swallow him whole. Sighing heavily, Huayan clarified she just needed to check his inner pulse. She softly apologized for being so aggressively forward, gracefully taking a seat right next to him. She confessed her timing sucked, and gently promised she just wanted to clear up the raging family politics. Soryong locked in listening intently. Huayan spilled her struggles, revealing the brutal pressure of being the main family's only heir, constantly dodging toxic assassination plots from greedy branch families. To lock down their legacy, the elders desperately demanded a powerhouse son-in-law. They were already calculating how Soryong's monstrous potential could elevate their entire clan. Bowing her head, she apologized up front for essentially testing his worth. But she promised that win or lose, she would always honor him as her ultimate savior, or maybe even as a sworn brother. Flashing a warm smile, Soryong offered his wrist, telling her to scan away without holding back. Hwayan gently gripped his wrist, her fingertips glowing with a mystical blue aura as she dove into his meridians. She whispered that the Tang clan's martial arts defied common sense. Cultivators had to literally fuse their growing aura with deadly toxins. Their venomous mastery scaled brutally through 5, 10, 100, and 1,000 deadly toxins, climaxing at 10,000 poisons. Shockingly, Soryong's mortal vessel could handle 10 distinct venoms, an absolute anomaly for a total outsider like him. But hitting a hard cap at 10 meant his absolute ceiling was merely the rank of a first-rate warrior. Nothing more. She coldly stated this was the ultimate dead end for a martial artist lacking divine bloodline talent. She vanished, leaving him drowning in crushing silence. A 10-poison vessel. The devastating reality drained all color from his face. This fatal bottleneck meant his ultimate goal of capturing the Jin Yao was slipping away. Meanwhile, Hua Yan finished bathing. Despite frantically scrubbing her skin multiple times, a sickeningly sweet aroma still clung to her. It started the moment she consumed that blue spot centipede's core. Getting dressed, she wondered if this sickening curse was karma for trash-talking the very guy who saved her life. Meanwhile, Soryong was completely knocked out, trapped in a bizarre dreamscape. A mysterious voice echoed thanking him for his mercy. The figure mirrored Hua Yan perfectly. When he questioned reality, the illusion smirked, declaring this was no ordinary nightmare. The phantom unmasked herself as the legendary blue spot centipede, hijacking Hua Yan's gorgeous face to avoid freaking him out. She proudly announced she was the mother of those beasts. Suddenly, 3 adorable girls materialized from the shadows. Soryong instantly realized these were her monstrous babies. He demanded to know how she hijacked his subconscious. She revealed that after her brutal slaughter and being violently ripped from her babies, her furious grudge pierced the heavens, locking her soul inside her stolen core. While she spent every waking second cursing the girl who devoured her essence, a wild chance for sweet revenge appeared, dragging her spirit into his mind. This insane connection forged itself the moment he rescued her orphaned little ones. Guilt crashed over Soryong. He silently admitted his careless tracking had basically signed her brutal death warrant. Even though it was a total accident, the blood of the blue spot centipede stained his hands. He listened intensely, as the grieving spirit begged her unexpected savior for one final desperate favor. Without missing a beat, he swore on his life to grant it. Her dying wish, just protect her precious babies, until they reached full maturity. Soryong frowned, pointing out that normal centipedes ditch their parents after just 2 molts. She scoffed, declaring her royal bloodline was vastly superior. Until these mystical infants hit their second major evolution, they desperately needed pure chi, radiating directly from her stolen core to simply survive. Only after that milestone could they start hunting other auras. This bombshell realization made Soryong ask if these little monsters needed to stay near Hua Yan, since she literally absorbed the core. The phantom mother sighed, spilling the dark truth of her blazing fury. She confessed to cursing Hua Yan with a revolting stench, a toxic hex designed to utterly repel any romantic suitors, ensuring her bloodline would painfully die out. But she offered a deal: she would shatter the curse if her kids drank the chi, straight from Hua Yan's body. The spirit playfully hinted this epic rescue might actually win her icy heart. Soryong processed this insane gamble, letting out a soft chuckle before firmly stating that felt incredibly sketchy. He absolutely refused to exploit Hua Yan's desperate crisis. The beast truly respected his ironclad morals, questioning his next move. She warned him that Hua Yan only worshipped absolute power, and there was zero chance of magically farming the cores of the 10 legendary beasts to boost his stats. But that impossible challenge ignited a spark in his eyes. He smirked, demanding her trust, swearing he would flip the script entirely. The next morning, the duo sat together. Hua Yan finally realized her horrific body odor was a direct side effect of absorbing that massive blue spot centipede's core. Soryong broke it down by letting the infant beasts latch onto her and drain off the excess chi. The curse would simply vanish. Hua Yan bit her lip, shooting him a suspicious glare. Was he seriously offering this lifesaver completely free of charge? She knew damn well he could easily extort her for cash. Soryong flashed a warm smile, stating he was not some scumbag who preys on a girl's lowest moment. He had standards. That pure riz caught her completely off guard, making guilt crash over her. She stubbornly refused to keep leeching his kindness without equal payback. Her clan leader father's strict teachings echoed heavily in her mind. Witnessing his raw honor made her finally see that absolute character hit harder than mere combat stats. Soryong then dropped a bombshell, throwing her earlier insult about his 10 poison limit right back. Since his body was strictly hard-capped at 10 deadly toxins, he was going to hijack the ultimate venoms from the top 10 legendary beasts of the Central Plains. Hua Yan's jaw completely dropped. Taking his vow as an epic pledge to conquer the martial world just for her, a crimson blush exploded across her face. As Tang Huayin, the legendary venomous flower of the Tang clan, and a top-tier Murim beauty, no guy had ever dropped such a reckless confession on her before. Face burning, she stammered, asking if he even grasped his own words. Totally clueless, Soryang just blinked. Huayin warned him that this supreme path would be absolute hell, draining 10, 20, or maybe even his entire lifetime to achieve. Soryang instantly panicked over the insane grind, which only made the blushing Huayin giggle. But then her heart started racing. Realizing Soryang was literally only 15, she shyly declared that in 3 years, once he officially became a man ready for marriage, if he could actually hunt down just one of the 10 great venomous creatures, she might accept his feelings. Face entirely red, she teased that a wedding wasn't totally off the table, cheering him on like an absolute fangirl. She immediately sprinted off. Left entirely bewildered, Soryang shouted her name. Hitting the brakes, she spun back around, expecting another romantic line. Instead, he just casually told her to chill and nap for a couple of hours. Super awkward, she dragged her feet but finally caved in. Soryang flashed a reassuring smile, promising the baby centipedes were totally harmless. Scooping up the creepy crawlies, he literally told them to go hug their mommy. That massive slip-up turned Huayin's face into a literal tomato. Freaking out, she demanded why he was acting like they were parents. Sweating bullets, Soryang desperately swore it was just a massive misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Chilson, his wife, and Muziang gathered around the table, hyping up the kid's insane martial potential, while lamenting his zero riz with their daughter. Smirking, Muziang asked if anyone caught their little morning interaction. He hinted that major sparks were definitely flying. But Huayin's mom sighed, guessing her stubborn daughter totally friend-zoned the poor guy. The old masters stroked their chins. Muziang strictly vetoed any arranged marriage nonsense, wanting their romance to bloom on its own. The mom then hatched a brilliant scheme to make Huayin his personal combat coach, forcing them into cute, sweaty training montages to catch feelings. Chilson instantly greenlit the strategy. Muziang even suggested begging the elder healer Sage for the legendary purifying elixir of marrow and essence to massively buff the kid's stats. Mind-blown, Chilson argued that even his precious Huayin never scored a cheat item like that. They definitely needed a reality check. Muziang nodded, but right on cue, Huayin slammed into the courtyard, loudly announcing her arrival. Her dad waved her inside, curious about the random visit. Spotting the whole squad, her cheeks flared up again. Fidgeting nervously, she practically screamed that she was totally down to follow her dad's master plan. Chilson just blue-screened in confusion. Smirking, her mom pulled out a chair and teased if the rookie had finally stolen her heart. Too shy to speak, Huayin froze. Chilson kept digging, baffled by this sudden change since she previously treated him like a ghost. Taking a massive breath, she spilled how Soryang swore to conquer the entire martial world just to be worthy of her. Jaws dropped everywhere as Chilson demanded details. She hyped up how despite his cursed 10-poison body, he boldly vowed to slaughter the 10 great venomous creatures as the ultimate romantic tribute. Muziang burst into booming laughter, loving the kid's absolute savage energy. Chilson sat paralyzed while his wife grinned, totally respecting that alpha-level dedication. Blushing, Huayin confessed she was definitely catching feelings, but strictly demanded he bag a legendary venomous creature before turning 18 to unlock the marriage route. Her dad joked she should have demanded 3 boss kills, while her mom sighed over how clueless guys usually are. Panicking, Huayin asked if she needed to spell it out for him. Her mom instantly blocked that idea, plotting that keeping Soryang in the dark would force him to grind even harder for her love. Muziang schemed to treat him like family behind the scenes, while acting totally unimpressed up front, knowing his sheer willpower would officially secure his spot in the clan. Meanwhile, the giant mother centipede bowed to Soryang, teasing that he had totally captured the icy beauty's heart. Cluelessly, Soryang claimed it was just pure, unyielding grind. Flashing a spectral smile, she called him her true savior. With her ancient grudge finally shattered, her soul was ready to peacefully cross over. But before fading away, she offered to grant him one final epic cheat skill request. Soryang rubbed his chin, then deadpan asked if he could thoroughly inspect her physical corpse. That wild demand immediately made the ancient spirit flustered. Assuming he was just another hormone-driven teenage boy, she completely misunderstood his crafting intentions. With trembling fingers, she slowly slipped the fabric off her shoulder. Soryang completely panicked, frantically waving his hands as he questioned this sudden striptease. Her face flushed crimson as she froze. Soryang instantly backpedaled, stumbling over his words in pure panic, which only made the awkwardness skyrocket. The kids hilariously slapped their hands over their eyes. Soryang desperately explained he just wanted to witness the legendary blue spot centipede's actual monster form. Finally getting the memo, the monstrous matriarch paused, caught between pure terror and wild anticipation. Mystical smoke violently erupted, unleashing her terrifying beastly shape. Soryang absolutely lost his mind. Mind blown by this majestic, colossal creature, his insane fanboy energy completely skyrocketed. Zero hesitation. He instantly grabbed her massive armor, completely starstruck, while aggressively firing off a million desperate questions. Is that exoskeleton waterproof? How lethal is that toxic venom? Can I pet the deadly antennae or those massive fangs? His massive geek-out session was insanely loud. The little ones were still squeezing their eyes shut, making the entire chaotic scene undeniably hilarious. This intense, freakish obsession genuinely flustered the terrifying mother. She seriously cringed when he desperately lunged for her lethal fangs, totally ignoring her frantic death warnings. She seriously started questioning if leaving her precious daughters with this absolute madman was actually a safe bet. Yet his bizarrely soothing spiritual energy made her chuckle. It was weirdly wholesome watching this crazy dude literally drool over her monstrous shell, while wildly inspecting every inch. Later on, Cholseon dragged the clueless hero into a formal tea meeting. Dropping a massive bomb, he confessed, Huayan spilled everything, and officially crowned Soryong as their ultimate future son-in-law. Completely blindsided, our boy desperately tried slamming the brakes, aggressively arguing that this shady contract was strictly conditional and supposed to take 3 entire years. Cholseon completely swatted away his panic smugly, declaring the wedding bells would ring the second he reached adulthood. Hwayun's mother instantly showered him with affection, loudly branding him her precious son-in-law. Meanwhile, Museong practically glowed with absolute pride, hyping up Hwayun's elite taste and bragging about their clan's unstoppable future. Power up. Soryong nervously shot Hwayun a deeply confused look, completely mind-blown by this insane marriage speedrun. Swallowing his massive panic, he tactically decided to just roll with it, and bowed, respectfully, requesting their legendary guidance. But when Museong fiercely demanded they begin training instantly, Soryong's inner nerd completely awakened. Cholseon dropped heavy lore. Before mastering the deadly Tang clan poison arts, he must absolutely survive the infamous Hall of 10,000 Poisons. Flashing a deeply sinister smirk, Cholseon promised it would be an absolute thrill ride. The entire squad marched him straight toward that legendary, terrifying sanctuary of the Tang clan. Thrilled by the idea, he envisioned an epic stash of deadly toxins. But during their stroll, his eyes locked onto Hwayun's flawless side profile. He was completely mesmerized by her radiant elegance, staring as if she were a breathtaking masterpiece. Naturally, his absolute love-struck gaze caught the elder's attention, sparking a knowing, mischievous smirk between them. Chilson immediately roasted him, joking that Soryong's intense glare would literally melt her pretty face. He playfully reminded the kid she was already his wife, yet Soryong still idolized her like an unreachable goddess. Hwayun's mother smoothly joined the roasting session, teasing how completely whipped her son-in-law was. Instantly, the young couple's faces burned beet red. Reaching the sacred hall, 3 figures guarded an intimidating iron gateway. 2 towering brutes flanked a high-ranking official, bowing deeply to the Grand Patriarch and the VIP rookie. With Mushang's absolute order, the unlocking commenced. The massive guards grunted, wrestling with titanic slabs of legendary Kunyu steel, hauled straight from the untamed southern wastelands. Hearing the deafening metallic groan, Soryong watched them sweat buckets. Even when the massive barricade finally surrendered, the poor sentinels looked completely gassed. Chuckling at their sheer exhaustion, Soryong silently thought to himself, this crazy medieval-level security was seriously overkill. Catching his son-in-law's skeptical vibe, Chilson proudly flexed that legendary Kunyu steel was literally unbreakable. Now the infamous Hall of 10,000 Poisons loomed ahead, making Soryong hype himself up for the absolute madness inside. Just witnessing those doors open was ultra-rare. Stepping past the threshold, they entered the ultimate treasure vault, the Sichuan Tang clan's legendary highly classified toxic arsenal. This jaw-dropping sanctuary, dubbed the Hall of 10,000 Poisons, literally overflowed with nightmare-inducing lethal substances. Mushang sternly warned the kid to watch his hands and avoid acting reckless. Soryong gave a serious nod, but eagerly asked if they actually hoarded 10,000 distinct toxins. Chilsan just let out a hearty laugh, explaining their insane sorting system, dividing everything into strict tiers like paralysis agents, sleep inducers, and deadly neurotoxins. Being total wingmen, the elders decided to spice things up. Chilson casually volunteered Hwayun to be the official tour guide, knowing the boy would love getting tutored by his gorgeous wife. That cheeky move instantly made both their faces burn. Pushing through her shyness, Hwayun boldly stepped up. Grabbing Soryong's hand, she pulled him toward the clan's most devastating god-tier chemical weapon. Her cute, flustered energy was super obvious, while the smirking elders thoroughly enjoyed the show. She kicked off her lecture, highlighting the terrifying chi-dissipating toxin, an airborne nightmare that instantly disabled a martial artist's core upon a single breath. She strictly warned him to treat it with absolute respect. Then she unveiled a gallery of pure lethality. The gut-rotting venom, the brutal spirit-shattering draft, the gruesome blood-exploding brew, and the legendary 7-step soul snatcher. Every single one was completely overpowered, but Hua Yun promised the clan's ultimate masterpiece was on an entirely different, terrifying level. She dropped a minuscule seed into his palm. Baffled, he silently thought it just looked like a basic tiger bean. Hua Yun revealed this tiny speck actually harbored the deadliest known toxin, rivaled only by the legendary 10 great venomous creatures. She proudly declared it the castor plant seed, the ultimate icon of the Tang clan. Soryong's brain instantly sparked with terrifying recognition. His modern mind immediately screamed ricin, an insanely lethal microtoxin famously weaponized for stealthy high-stakes assassinations during the Cold War. Soryong whispered that this speck truly embodied the Tang clan's terrifying endgame ideal, completely colorless, totally odorless, tasteless, and practically invisible. Hua Yun hyped it up as the golden poison. Whenever deployed, its unfortunate target suffered what the clan chillingly dubbed a golden death. She made it crystal clear that true peak toxicity wasn't about unleashing flashy gore or causing absolute agonizing physical pain. It was all about delivering silent, swift, and ghost-like lethality. The Tang clan's dark arts, she proudly declared, completely mastered the absolute laws of stealth and guaranteed kills. Soryong felt like he was getting an elite assassin guild's masterclass. Mushang suddenly cut in, declaring the crash course over and hyped them up to go check out the legendary venomous beast. Soryong was practically dying to finally meet. The patriarch even tossed him the insane opportunity to become the creature's official caretaker, backed by the clan's unlimited resources. Soryong's inner system quickly translated this as getting full VIP funding for his absolute geekiest hobby. His hype was uncontainable. But before moving forward, a breathless messenger named Pai crashed the party, gasping. He frantically reported a sudden emergency going down at the Black Tortoise Pavilion. The Grand Patriarch instantly demanded a full sit-rep, and Pai noticeably gulped before dropping two massive bombs. Number 1, the premium meds shipped to the Sichuan City Lord completely flopped, triggering furious backlash. Pai swallowed hard again, nervously, side-eyeing Soryong before finally spitting out the second major crisis. Soryong let out a heavy sigh. Pai finally confessed the issue involved the legendary Hall of 10,000 Poisons. Sensing the toxic rumors spreading like wildfire, Mu Xiang knew they had to strike fast. He commanded Soryong to follow him into the storm. Inside the Black Tortoise Pavilion, the clan elders immediately unleashed their bitter complaints upon the patriarch. Their pride was utterly shattered. How dare he betroth the noble Hua Yun to some nameless stray? This blatant disrespect ignited Cheolsan's fury. A menacing green aura exploded from his body as he dared them to insult his son-in-law again. Yet blinding arrogance pushed the elders forward, stubbornly defending their pathetic outrage. Mu Xiang's icy glare instantly froze the room. He barked that his word was absolute law, demanding if anyone truly wished to challenge his throne. Completely rattled by his dominant presence, the trembling elders desperately begged the Grand Patriarch to step in. Handing the legendary Hall of 10,000 Poisons to an unproven outsider, they cried it was sheer madness. But Mu Xiang didn't flinch. His ironclad decision remained absolutely unbreakable. Sensing the heavy tension, Hua Yun softly whispered a heartbreaking apology. Yet Soryong only felt a deep pang of crushing guilt. A heavy sigh escaped his lips. He hated making her anxious, knowing she had absolutely zero reasons to be sorry. The entire room froze when Soryong finally shattered the silence. "Excuse me," he casually dropped, "sorry to crash your little party." Stepping up to the plate, he took total control. Since these boomers were crying about his lack of skills, he'd just have to violently prove his worth. The noisy elders instantly choked on their words. Soryong boldly offered to crush the Sichuan City Lord's massive headache as a flawless flex of his raw power. Hua Yun's eyes went wide. She nervously whispered, begging to know his crazy endgame. Soryong hated playing the flashy hero, but nobody was going to ruin his chill, peaceful life as a badass pet dad. His sheer audacity left the old men totally gagged. Before an absolute volcano of outrage erupted, they viciously roasted him for cutting into their sacred meeting, screaming if he even understood the terrifying weight of the city lord's letter. Branding him an arrogant nobody, they threw a massive tantrum to the patriarch about his disrespectful flex. The geezers weaponized this moment fiercely, demanding a high-tier groom from a legendary martial arts bloodline instead. Meanwhile, Cheolsan's wife was straight up exhausted by their endless toxic whining. Deep down, Soryong was just laughing. The more these fossils yapped, the more ridiculously pathetic they sounded. Flashbacks hit him. Back when he was the iconic streamer Spicy Flavor, juggling over 1 million hardcore fans and thousands of live viewers. To him, these elite elders were just basic internet trolls spamming toxic hate in his chat. Staring them down, Soryong dropped a massive truth bomb. Since they rejected his title, he was technically just an honored VIP guest. Thanks to years of savage streaming, navigating this clown show was an absolute walk in the park. He brutally listed his receipts, saving their precious lady Hua Yun, utterly destroying the Bloodhand Rakshasa, and literally pulling the patriarch from death. With a killer smirk, he challenged their so-called honor. Is disrespecting your literal savior standard protocol for the mighty Sichuan Tang clan? Utterly humiliated by his savage logic, the sweating elders cowardly mumbled that panic had clouded their judgment. Soryong internally cringed at their pathetic backtracking, yet the Grand Patriarch watched with a highly amused, thoroughly impressed smirk. Refusing to take the loss, one elder desperately tried to downplay the epic defeat of the legendary Tak Wunyang. The Patriarch instantly crushed that doubt. He slammed a forbidden artifact onto the table, the legendary secret manual of the terrifying blood sect. The blood hand poison arts, literally inked in human blood. A collective gasp of pure horror ripped through the elders. Their jaws hit the floor when the Patriarch demanded Soryong reveal his hidden weapons. Tapping his chest, Soryong casually summoned 3 baby blue-spotted centipedes. The deadly little beasts happily crawled out. Pure, unadulterated terror washed over the elders' pale faces. Beaming with insane pride, the Patriarch dropped the bomb. These were the legendary offspring personally tamed and raised by Soryong himself. He smugly added that these tiny monsters were the exact weapons that slaughtered Tak Wunyang. One elder, eyes trembling in absolute denial, frantically demanded to know if Soryong had actually conquered such legendary untamable beasts. Soryong and the Patriarch simply exchanged dangerously knowing smirks. Mocking their hypocrisy, Chulson pointed out how quickly they downgraded him to a young warrior instead of showing proper respect to their son-in-law. Soryong playfully warned his lethal pets not to bite the elders unless they wanted another dead body. The terrified geezers instantly started backpedaling. Suddenly they claimed they always loved Soryong pathetically, stammering out weak excuses about clan protocol and natural caution. Exhausted by their clown behavior, the Grand Patriarch paused the son-in-law debate to aggressively redirect focus back to the Hall of 10,000 Poisons. He demanded to know why Soryong's entry was blocked. The sweating elders nervously claimed he wasn't fully merged into their sacred bloodline just yet. Viewed as a mere rookie, carrying such massive responsibility seemed impossible. Seeking a quick fix, the Grand Patriarch challenged Soryong to flex his skills. Flashing a cocky smirk, Soryong boldly announced he'd earn his spot, using the legendary Sichuan Tang clan's ultimate signature pure poison. Panic instantly swept through the terrified elders, completely misreading his vibe. They lost their minds, screaming if this wild kid actually planned to assassinate the Sichuan city lord instead of saving him. Soryong just blinked, completely baffled by their massive freakout. In his mind, it was basic logic since the Tang clan literally ruled the toxic arts. By the next morning, the Grand Patriarch dropped a bombshell: Soryong's brutal grind. In the clan's supreme martial art, the legendary 5 Venoms returning technique, Soryong questioned if intense physical conditioning was required. The Grand Patriarch calmly dropped some wisdom, explaining that channeling pure ki would forcefully reconstruct his physique to perfectly match the explosive techniques. Soryong jumped in, emphasizing that their savage clan worshipped raw practicality, meaning our hero would master lethal skills, designed for instant bloodshed in real combat. Soryong dramatically revealed a deadly arsenal of arrows, daggers, shuriken, and endless gadgets. They kicked off with stealth projectiles like needles, coins, lethal darts, toxic powders, stealth daggers, and throwing knives. Soryong noted that despite the crazy variety of hidden assassination tools, they basically boiled down to 5 main categories. He challenged Soryong to guess the absolute easiest weapon to master. Trusting his gut, Soryong accurately named the dagger or throwing knife, nailing the first test. Soryong immediately demanded the hardest weapon. Thinking tactically, Soryong guessed powder requiring perfect wind control to scatter. But Soryong ruthlessly shut him down, naming the needle as the ultimate nightmare. Stunned, Soryong figured its tiny feather-light frame made it insanely tough to launch. Shaking his head, Soryong revealed the true terrifying hurdle wasn't the launch itself. It was the insane mental strain of tracking every single airborne needle. Flexing his insane mastery, Soryong snapped a brush head off its handle with lightning speed. In a flash, countless bristles defied gravity, floating menacingly. Before morphing into razor-sharp needles, carpet-bombing the earth like heavy rain, Soryong's jaw hit the floor, watching mere hairs pierce solid rock. Soryong smirked, unveiling the Tang clan's legendary hidden art, the terrifying sky, obscuring flower rain. An apocalyptic secret skill where thousands of lethal needles rain down like cherry blossoms, obliterating the zone. Soryong did the terrifying math, realizing this technique meant flooding the zone with spikes, then brawling in that death trap. Panic creeping in, he pointed out that surviving a literal minefield of flying steel left zero room for footwork. Chuckling darkly, Soryong confirmed the nightmare warning that our boy had to flawlessly memorize every single needle's drop zone just to survive his own ultimate attack. Soryong's brain short-circuited. Drenched in cold sweat, he desperately double-checked with his crazy mentor if he genuinely must calculate the exact landing spots of needles bouncing off armored enemies, alongside the countless strays that completely missed. Nodding ruthlessly, Mu Soryong dropped the hammer to awaken the five Venom's body. He needed a baseline memory of 100 impact points, drained of all color. Soryong instantly face-planted into the dirt, totally knocked out. Suddenly, Lady Huayan rolled up, wearing a heavy-duty beekeeper suit, excitedly asking if her fit was combat-ready. Hearing rumors of his wild mission to capture a massive hornet, she nervously questioned if the armor was overkill. Soryong kept it real, absolutely not. That epic gear meant they could aggressively hunt the beast instead of playing defense. Curious Huayan asked if he even knew the nest's location, and he cryptically promised it would all make sense soon. Mentioning she had scouted a hive nearby, the dynamic duo embarked into the wild. Trekking through the woods, Huayan casually dropped a bomb about the secret letter sent to the Sichuan city lord, checking if Soryong peeked. Soryong smoothly confirmed he knew everything. Flushed bright red, Huayan worried his young mind couldn't possibly grasp the mature details. But Soryong didn't miss a beat, boldly stating that Yang Qi, a man's ultimate life force, was ridiculously crucial. Mortified, Huayan desperately tried to silence him, but the secret was out. This kid totally understood. The epic crisis destroying the city lord's pride. Straight up, Soryong casually exposed the tragic truth: his magic pillar had completely lost its power. Huayan narrowed her eyes, suspicious of how a child understood such mature problems. Shrugging off the awkward tension, Soryong casually blamed his street smarts on surviving solo. Blushing furiously, Huayan speed-walked ahead. Hours of hiking later, the dense forest swallowed them whole. Our hero instantly got sidetracked by wild beasts, forcing Huayan to constantly wrangle him until they finally hit the target zone. Hidden deep within a shadowy cave hollow, the ominous nest sat in the perfect tactical stronghold for killer hornets. Creeping closer, Huayan whispered, questioning the weirdness of an abandoned hive. Snapping their protective helmets into place, Soryong dropped the real plot twist. Their mission targeted vicious hornets, meaning regular bees were off the menu entirely. Totally bewildered, Huayan blindly trusted his master plan. Arriving at the shadowy crevice, Soryong revealed that the toxic prize they hunted lurked inside tiny defenseless nests. This totally blew Huayan's mind, but relief washed over her when their target actually materialized. A creepy crawler emerged, and bam, Soryong snatched it midair with basic chopsticks. They definitely weren't hunting basic hornets. Their actual prey was way more hardcore. This minuscule beast held the absolute cure for the Sichuan city lord. Huayan scrutinized the critter, questioning if it was a ground beetle. Nailed it, Soryong suddenly clocked that in this realm. Locals actually dubbed this pest a ground beetle. Across the Central Plains, the creepy crawler, invading giant hornet turf, went by that name, whereas modern earthlings call it a blister beetle. Huayan questioned if crashing a killer hornet pad was standard beetle behavior. Soryong broke down their insane life cycle. These blister bugs reproduce like absolute menaces. While normal bugs fiercely protect their babies or build safe havens, this chaotic menace drops eggs wherever the vibe hits. Soryong joked that this bug literally tells nature to pause while it casually dumps its spawn, completely abandoning them without a single care. They just scatter them recklessly, caring only about piling them into a massive mound. Once those tiny larvae finally hatch, they immediately scramble up the tallest nearby peak. Upon reaching the summit, they pull off a crazy stunt. They clump together, masquerading as a blooming flower. This deceptive floral trap lures in clueless bees seeking nectar. The second those victims close in, the vicious swarm hijacks the carpenter bee, conquering its entire crib in a flash. Soryong cluelessly wondered why they preferred terrifying hornet bases, yet it clearly provided the ultimate leveling zone. Pity for the monstrous hornets gripped Huayan, but Soryong casually shrugged off nature's brutal rules. Huayan remembered, this bug inflicted brutal skin burns, plus consuming excessive amounts literally meant game over. Soryong validated her fears, detailing how their glowing orange juice packed cantharidin, a lethal toxin, melting flesh upon contact. Huayan's cheeks ignited crimson, whispering if the legendary side effect was real. He nodded, dropping the bombshell that it instantly triggers massive morning wood. Mortified, Huayan frantically ordered him to shut up. She desperately urged their retreat to the Hall of 10,000 Poisons. However, Soryong craved more toxic loot. Having secured the ultimate prize, they warped back to the Hall of 10,000 Poisons, where Soryong started schooling the elite assassins on brewing this legendary elixir. He commanded total silence, breaking down the hardcore alchemy, requiring them to completely dehydrate the bugs and crush them into dust. Just 1/10 packed insane toxicity, while 3 mo guaranteed death. Consuming 3/10 of a mo per quan of body mass literally meant a 50% mortality rate. Soryong ordered the dose capped at exactly 1/10 of a mo, roughly equal to 10 liquid drops. For context, a mo hits 3.75 milligrams, while a quan equals 3.75 kilograms. Understood. Internally, Soryong's brain practically short-circuited from the insane math. Snapping off his menacing mask, one assassin hyped up Soryong's flawless breakdown. Nobody expected this kid to possess such god-tier calculation skills. The masked dude swore they would nail the recipe or die trying. Soryong expressed his gratitude, putting his absolute faith in their hands. As night fell, Musong vibed with Hwayan, utterly mind-blown by the beetle's completely broken stats. He confessed this totally flipped his perspective on the Tang clan's legendary poison vault. Hwayan vigorously nodded. Musong then flexed Soryong's unmatched mathematical genius. Hwayan hyped how he flawlessly calculated the elixir's exact potency, perfectly matching it to the weight of 10 simple drops. Musong straight up admitted that despite being a self-proclaimed poison grandmaster, Soryong operated in a completely different dimension. The deeper he investigated this kid, the more he recognized his absolute brilliance. Smirking, Musong teased Hwayan about her massive growing crush on the boy. Her face exploded into a raging tomato. Stammering, she deeply regretted heavily underestimating him on day one. Musong chuckled, stating that epic redemption arcs were all that truly mattered in the end. He then dropped the heavy question, who becomes the human test dummy? Hwayan's cheeks flared up like a warning siren. She whispered that the crusty branch elders were already plotting against Soryong's savage disrespect. Soryong fired back with ultimate swagger, declaring he'd test it by challenging those geezers head-on. Musong's jaw physically unhinged. Booming laughter escaped him, totally captivated by the kid's audacity. Sunrise brought everyone to the arena. The elders reeked of arrogant doubt. A subordinate handed Soryong a carved wooden box. He explained he had infused the remedy with sweet honey and licorice powder to mask the bitter taste. Soryong totally marveled at the sheer dedication poured into every tiny detail. "Did you follow the recipe to the letter?" Soryong asked. The warrior gave a firm, confident nod of absolute certainty. Nearby, clan members rolled their eyes, mocking the dramatic fuss. They openly doubted if this so-called miracle drug actually worked. The patriarch raised a hand, instantly muting the peanut gallery. He then challenged Soryong to demonstrate the true power of this elixir. Soryong acted completely shocked by the doubt. The furious clan elders roared that testing the product was just basic, common sense. "We cannot blindly ship untested venom to the Sichuan city lord," one elder barked. Another immediately nodded in fierce agreement, warning that one tiny mistake would trigger absolute ruin. Soryong kept his cool smoothly, replying that they lacked any backup plan. While the subordinate caught on, the elders remained clueless. Their annoyance spiked, realizing Soryong essentially wanted them to be human guinea pigs. One particularly loud elder exploded, demanding if Soryong even grasped the sheer danger of that deadly substance. Another sneered that wandering the brutal outside world had completely corrupted the soul of Soryong. Flashing a wicked smirk, the boy loudly summoned his grandfather. Museong stepped up, questioning the sudden call. Soryong smoothly threw his grandfather's previous bold claim back into the spotlight, claiming true masters of Tang clan arts never feared mere toxins. Catching the vibe, Museong confidently backed up his grandson's cunning trap. Soryong casually noted that these panicked elders were basically shaking in their boots. Museong nodded, along with a knowing smirk. He ruthlessly roasted these supposed grandmasters, mocking their status in a legendary family famous for conquering 100 deadly toxins. Playing brutal mind games, he joked they were probably terrified of basic ground beetle venom. That massive disrespect instantly triggered the elder, who angrily snapped the pill right in half. Screaming that trivial bugs meant nothing, he arrogantly swallowed the mysterious dose. Glaring daggers, the elder promised brutal punishment if this magical cure failed. He fiercely swore to enforce the ironclad rules and ancient traditions of their bloodline. As they chewed the bitter dose, heavy silence dropped. Then they laughed, mocking the dud pill. Suddenly, one elder felt an unexpected rush down below. The ancient dragon had finally awakened from its deep hibernation. Flushed red with awkward panic, the old men desperately covered their rising situations. From that iconic moment forward, the clan traditions were completely redefined. Packed with pure comedic irony, the enchanted stamina pill shipped straight to the Sichuan lord. The results: absolutely mind-blowing performance. Moments later, the proud elders waddled across the courtyard, awkwardly gripping their robes to hide the massive evidence. Soryong whispered to Museong that his psychological trap worked flawlessly. By pushing their toxic pride buttons right to the edge, the arrogant boomers took the bait instantly. Museong understood their reckless stunt was fueled by sheer ego, but also deep loyalty to their family name. He gently warned his grandson to drop the grudge. After all, the chaos, they shared the same blood. Soryong gave a respectful nod. Suddenly, Hwangyun sprinted inside, screaming about a total disaster. Panicking, they demanded details, and she cried out that their babies were acting weird. Soryong instantly blushed, crimson, completely paralyzed by shock. Museong dropped his smile, immediately shifting into deadly protective grandpa mode, as he violently snatched Soryong by the collar. Roaring in fury, he demanded to know when they secretly made babies. Soryong stood completely frozen, dripping in terrified cold sweat. Shaking the boy, the elder screamed they had not even tied the knot yet, Miss Huang, her cheeks burning bright red. Frantically clarified, she meant their creepy crawly kids. She was talking about his pet centipedes. Soryong gasped, pure panic flashing in his eyes, desperately begging to know what happened to his precious bugs. He babbled about his crazy hardcore training arc lately, which forced him to dump babysitting duties onto Miss Huang. But thanks to her own exhausting cultivation grind, she totally neglected the poor critters. Filled with intense dad energy, he demanded to see his sweet little daughters immediately, but Huang nervously admitted she left them behind. The stunned grandfather, watching this bizarre misunderstanding unfold, just stood there utterly brain-broken. Fast forward, the 3 tiny insect pets looked absolutely miserable and incredibly pale. Totally lost, Soryong asked if this tragic illness hit them out of nowhere. She nodded frantically, swearing they were perfectly healthy moments ago, terrified they caught some lethal bug disease. Their armor looked super faded, and their creepy shells seemed totally cracked and bizarre. A light bulb went off in his head, and Soryong gently calmed her rising panic. He dropped some basic biology knowledge about molting, explaining how these demonic bugs naturally shed their tight outer armor. He smiled, realizing his precious babies were finally hitting their growth spurt. Still totally stressed, Huang double-checked if they would survive. Soryong promised this was just a beautiful act of nature, and the magic would happen any second. Right on cue, the oldest bug squirmed violently, bursting through its dead skin, revealing a surprisingly cute, squishy new form. The duo watched in absolute awe at the miracle. Then Huang spotted the remaining twins, violently shattering their old husks too. Within seconds, the creepy siblings wiggled free. Sitting together, this terrifying trio had literally doubled in size. Their majestic glow practically hypnotized everyone in the room. Huayun turned to Soryong, asking if he had blessed these absolute beauties with names yet. He scratched his head, totally clueless. After a quick beat, he deadpan suggested calling them number 1, number 2, and number 3. Huayun instantly shut that down, calling those basic names a total disrespect to their vibe. She dropped heavy lore, explaining these specific centipedes could literally morph into dragons after surviving for 1,000 years, demanding epic titles for that insane potential. Soryong scoffed, totally side-eyeing the idea that a bug could become a mythical beast even after a millennium. The old man nervously crashed, the chat chuckling, and dropping facts that these were straight-up heavenly dragons, meaning their legendary glow-up was guaranteed. Catching on to who started this wild rumor, Soryong face-palmed hard, but kept brainstorming some properly hyped titles. After cooking up some ideas, he dropped 3 names, Nova, Myra, and Grace. Huayun was genuinely shook. Soryong broke down the hidden meanings. Nova the first flexed the energy of epic beginnings. Myra, the second, radiated sweet fragrances. The third, Grace, served pure elegance and gentle kindness. The deep vibes melted the heart of Huayun, completely nodding that the father totally nailed naming his little squad. Later on, while flexing through the bustling streets, those massively grown centipedes latched onto Soryong like armor, crashing down to catch his breath. He realized his hardcore grinding barely handled their insane new bulk, though he could still awkwardly drag himself forward. Just as he was about to roast their chunky weight, one beast literally launched itself, smacking him straight across the jaw. Flattened into the dirt by the heavy strike, he felt them swarming his entire frame like heavy chains. While processing this chaotic struggle, some shady whispers nearby completely hijacked his radar. 2 dudes hauling heavy cash were hyping up the insane wealth of the Sichuan Tang clan, plotting a wild night at a local club. They bragged about how farming this easy cash was a total cheat code, instantly hooking the interest of Soryong. Later, the patriarch dropped massive news. He checked if Soryong recalled that special medicine they shipped to the High Elders previously. Soryong gave a solid nod. The clan leader hyped how those legendary pills literally worked absolute miracles, flexing that the Lord mailed back massive respect and a fat loot drop, making both Soryong and Huayun totally hyped. The father-in-law hyped Soryong for pulling off an absolute masterclass, admitting he never imagined scoring such insane perks this fast from taking him as a son-in-law. Soryong smirked, soaking up the win. Finally, the patriarch offered to bless him with a personal elixir, demanding he drop the humble act and claim his prize. Soryong calculated the crazy stat boosts this potion could trigger. Buzzing with hype, Huayun grilled her dad about the elixir tier. He revealed it was the rare Golden King bee honey. Soryong figured it was just basic syrup but decided to grab the free loot anyway, hoping it might buff his inner aura and fast-track his martial master awakening. Her face turning dead serious, Huayun flamed her dad, questioning why he hyped up a grand prize when he was literally just handing out honey. Clamping onto the arm of Soryong, she fiercely dragged her father for acting so wildly cheap, screaming that the epic carries of Soryong deserved way more respect. She bluntly exposed the honey as a trash-tier potion. The patriarch sweated under the pressure, whining that despite its low stats, farming that drop cost an absolute fortune. Huayun, practically radiating fury, snapped back that no matter the price tag, it was a total joke compared to his massive achievements. The poor patriarch internally cried over the brutal struggle of raising a savage daughter. Totally chilling through the drama, Soryong pressed for more lore on this Golden King bee. After a quick mental check, the father-in-law painted the Golden King bee as a toxic mid-tier mob lurking in the deep woods. He warned that this beast was built as massive as a whole dog. He added that chugging its premium nectar literally granted 2 straight months of hardcore aura training. The eyes of Soryong sparked with pure hype, mind blown by a dog-sized killer bee. Meanwhile, Hwyun stormed off, completely tilted on his behalf. Panicking, the father-in-law Speed ran a fake excuse, claiming he just thought Soryong would vibe with spotting a Golden King bee in real life. That hook instantly deleted his chill, and his adrenaline spiked at the chance to track the beast down himself. The patriarch dropped a smooth nod of approval, while Soryong practically vibrated with euphoria. Flashbacks hit of his past life grinding solo honey quests, while filming viral content for YouTube. Dashing away instantly, he boldly crowned himself the ultimate bee whisperer. The patriarch trailed behind, smirking that his desperate bluff was an absolute win. Hwyun let out a soul-crushing sigh, accepting she had to babysit this chaotic new side quest, and so kicked off their wild honey raid, throwing all logic straight out the window. Hitting the scene, they caught 2 rival squads fiercely clashing over the ultimate honey harvesting rights. One crew flexed their heavily paid intel while the rivals screamed about claiming the spot first. Both squads got totally scammed by some shady dude, rocking messy hair and a massive facial wart. That exact crusty description sparked Soryong's memory. Suddenly, a Sichuan Tang clan warrior totally lost his cool. He completely raged, roaring about their clan's ruined honor. Dropping the Tang clan name instantly paralyzed the enemy with pure dread. Flashback to the patriarch pulling the newlyweds aside, heavily warning Soryong about surviving his absolute first expedition. He demanded Soryong remember his new bloodline tie to the almighty Tang clan. Soryong simply nodded, while Huang Yin, totally unfazed by the intense vibe, stayed dead silent. A visibly shocked Soryong quickly peeked sideways and spotted elite Tang warriors desperately craving his command. The patriarch coldly broke it down. Soryong had to master leading a squad right now. Soryong panicked, relying on Huang Yin, but the patriarch called him utterly clueless. Marrying her literally crowned him the ultimate boss. That heavy reality check left Soryong completely paralyzed and mind-blown. Hearing the word wife out loud totally short-circuited his brain. In the back, Huang Yin softly hyped up her flustered husband. Sweating bullets, Soryong swore to give it everything. Snapping back to reality, heavy killing intent choked the forest air. The rival squads locked deadly stares, craving that legendary Golden King bee honey. Breaking the silence, Soryong questioned Wolgang, the venomous blood unit's fierce captain, about dropping intel to the enemies. Wolgang paused, his eyes narrowing with pure suspicion. Who possessed a massive death wish to leak Sichuan Tang clan secrets? Huang Yin coldly stated that any scammer bold enough to cross them was literally begging for an early grave. Spotting her chilling presence, the rival crew started sweating buckets. Recognizing the legendary poison flower, of the Murim 3 flowers, and a royal Tang descendant, pure terror absolutely shattered their confidence. Instantly regretting their life choices, the enemy boss bowed frantically, introducing his Central Wind sect boys, and practically begging to retreat. He swore on his life they would never dare cross the mighty Tang clan. His squad violently bowed in apology, promising to hunt down the filthy scammers who sold them out. They ghosted the scene instantly, leaving Soryong completely stunned by his family's god-tier aura. Cluelessly, he asked if the drama was totally over, but veteran Wolgang shot that down, warning the nightmare wasn't over yet. Shady sects with bruised egos never just walk away peacefully. Wolgang commanded his elite unit to lock down a nearby base camp and establish heavy guard rotations, knowing those cowards were definitely lurking in the shadows for a cheap ambush. He dispatched a shadow scout to track the rats. Meanwhile, Huang Yin caught Soryong's totally stressed-out vibe. She tried to soothe his nerves with her veteran wisdom, but Soryong's brain was literally only dreaming about epic honey. Cut to the squad spying on the legendary Golden King bees from stealth cover. These creatures were massive, literally matching the size of stray dogs. Soryong was completely starstruck by their majesty, while Huang Yin confessed she had never witnessed beasts like this either. The couple totally fanboyed over their fluffy golden armor, making them look weirdly adorable. That majestic drip definitely earned them the Golden King title. Soryong's sharp eyes caught that the hive felt surprisingly tiny, but mathematically, their massive physical bodies made the small space logical. He dropped some deep nature lore claiming this setup packed roughly 5,000 to 7,000 killer bees. That crazy precise stat totally shook Huang Yin, demanding to know his secret, without stepping inside the death trap. Soryong smirked, trusting his wild instincts to calculate the threat, just by tracking the chaotic traffic of beasts at the gate. Out of nowhere, a shadow materialized right behind them. They whipped around weapons, ready only to see their returning stealth scout. He confirmed the enemy sect's exact coordinates, chilling directly across the valley, acting super suspiciously calm, while plotting their next deadly strike. Wolfgang easily read their minds. Those thieves were waiting for midnight to steal the Tang clan's sacred harvesting technique. Super intrigued, Soryong asked for the secret sauce. Wolfgang revealed they torched Artemisia leaves using the thick smoke to tranquilize the monsters, buying seconds to loot the treasure. Soryong praised the absolute genius strategy. But suddenly the scout dropped a heavy truth bomb that spiked everyone's anxiety. The wind was blowing straight toward them. During the suffocating silence, Soryong's eyes lit up with a wild gamble. A tailwind meant their human scent was completely erased from the enemy's radar. Huang Yin nodded at the tactical advantage. Trembling with pure hype, Soryong sprang up, ready to speedrun the massive hive. Panicking, Huang Yin immediately grabbed him, totally blocking his suicidal dash toward the venomous, mid-level nightmare beasts. Gripping his jacket for dear life, she aggressively scolded him, while Soryong desperately begged for just one peek. But disaster struck. A stray rock ricocheted across the dirt, slamming right into the massive tree hiding the killer bee colony. Ice filled their veins. Before either could even blink, a massive black cloud of furious stingers erupted from the trunk. Sensing pure doom, Huang snatched Soryong by the collar. She used her movement technique to instantly dash away. After surviving Huang's brutal scolding, Soryong camped on a boulder, his gears turning. There had to be a smarter way to handle this boss-level threat. Sparking a windblown fire meant instant death, trapping them between rival enemies and the deadly hive. Plus, these monster insects were built differently. They literally tracked micro-vibrations through the dirt from yards away. Mid-brainstorm, a shadow fell over him. Huang stepped up quietly, letting him know the younger disciples had safely arrived. The kids had eaten and started wandering. Soryong flashed her a quick nod, truly grateful for her backup. With a soft voice, he ordered the runts to chill out. They happily agreed, as Huang took a seat nearby. Her intense gaze made him sweat. She pushed for updates, but Soryong admitted he desperately needed more time to analyze their enemy. Sighing, she apologized, realizing she was heavily pressuring his mental limits. Though secretly stressed, Soryong played it totally cool. He promised her he was not feeling the heat at all. Suddenly, Huang spotted two wild monkeys brawling near the danger zone. Their loud screeching echoed dangerously close to the hive. She highlighted how violently unhinged one monkey acted. Out of nowhere, Soryong caught a weird whiff and urgently asked if she smelled it. She nodded, recognizing a bizarrely sweet heavy aroma. Panic struck his face. He warned those sweet pheromones meant an instant death swarm. Reacting blindly, Huang grabbed him and launched backward. Landing safely, her jaw dropped. An apocalyptic tsunami of golden king bees exploded outward, brutally dive-bombing those loud monkeys. The lethal swarms stung without mercy, turning the primates into swollen pincushions. It was an absolute massacre. Safe in the shadows, Huang demanded answers. How did he predict the ambush before a single wing even buzzed? He smirked, blaming that sickly sweet warning scent the hive dropped. Connecting the dots, she realized that deadly trigger aroma perfectly mirrored a floral perfume. Cutting her off, Soryong intensely asked if her poison master skills could recreate that exact smell. She confidently confirmed it as pure magnolia extract. A wicked, brilliant smile stretched across Soryong's face. Watching his genius mind work, Huang's cheeks flared with a sudden heavy blush. Flashing an evil grin, Soryong announced the ultimate checkmate. He finally knew how to destroy those annoying rebels hunting their loot. Cut to the dark forest edge. The rival sect thugs camped out eagerly, plotting their ultimate heist. The villains partied hard, while their arrogant boss rapidly drowned himself in cheap booze. Chugging his jug by the crackling campfire, the sloppy leader praised their perfectly roasted catch. A vicious thug sporting a nasty facial scar stepped up. He questioned when the elite Tang clan would finally harvest the liquid gold. The drunk boss shrugged. 3 days ago, Tang assassins flooded the zone, but today it was weirdly, terrifyingly quiet. He guessed the major clan would strike any second, and his scarred lackey completely backed that theory. Doubting their payday, the leader asked if this stunt would actually make them rich. The whole squad completely lost it, cackling loudly. The scarred thug smirked. That rare Golden King beeswax crafted premium candles strictly reserved for the untouchable imperial bloodline. He explained the elite Tangs only cared about the honey. Those fools would leave the priceless hives right for the taking. Pure hype infected the trashy mob. They practically drooled, imagining the high-tier clan failing miserably. Evil chuckles echoed through the trees. Stealing both the legendary honey and the royal hives meant infinite wealth. Then a grunt mentioned Huang. He name-dropped her legendary terrifying title as the deadly 3 Flowers of Murim. He ordered his boys to watch out. That toxic beauty could not die by their blades today, maybe later. Disgusting, villainous laughs erupted again. These absolute creeps actually fantasized about stealing the lethal Huang Yin as their prize. One idiot teased she might marry into the powerful Tangs. Another creep joked they should definitely collect on those toxic favors. Mid-laugh, a low-level goon stopped dead. A bizarre, heavy floral scent randomly drifted through their filthy camp. Thinking it was a joke, he blindly assumed it was the deadly Huane, radiating her famous poison perfume. His buddy laughed, betting her natural aura smelled exactly that intoxicating. But then a sinister rumbling vibration rode the wind through the trees. The joking thug instantly went pale. His voice shook with pure dread as he asked what that cursed smell really was. Slowly tilting their heads upward, arrogant smirks morphed into absolute soul-crushing terror. Eclipsing the pale moon, a demonic swirling black tornado crashed down. Millions of enraged golden king bees descended. Ear-piercing screams echoed instantly, asking if that was really a swarm of bees, and the others confirmed their worst fears. Without wasting another moment, they all ran for their lives, scrambling to escape the incoming wave of golden king bees. The once adorable bees with their shining golden eyes were now on a rampage, attacking anything that moved. Within seconds, the swarm had done its work, leaving the sect members covered in painful welts caused by the bees' bites, just as they had done to the monkeys earlier. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to show the mixture of ingredients Soryong had prepared to produce the pheromone. It had been strategically placed on the ground, so the wind could carry the scent toward the henchmen's camp. Hidden behind trees and rocks, Soryong and Huang watched as the bees mobilized following the pheromone's trail. Huine was astonished that the plan had actually worked while the sect leader stood slack-jawed. Amazed that the entire swarm was heading in one direction, Huine turned to Soryong and asked how he had managed it. Admitting she had not expected the bees to become so aggressive over the scent of flowers, Soryong, clearly excited, explained that the smell had triggered the bees to launch a full-scale attack. Curious, Huine asked how simply crushing some flowers and fruits and spreading the juice could provoke such a response. Soryong, brimming with enthusiasm, explained that the specific scent acted as a signal for the bees, using examples like the Giga Chad beetle and adorable bees. He elaborated that the phenomenon was due to pheromones, a type of chemical signal used by animals of the same species to communicate. He added that social insects like ants and wasps heavily relied on pheromones for tasks such as locating food. Finally, he explained that the pheromone he used was the exact same chemical signal the bees released when initiating a mass attack isoamyl acetate. Huine, enchanted by Soryong's explanation, said it was fascinating that he knew the scent emitted by magnolias was the same one bees used to signal an attack. Embarrassed by her praise, Soryong replied that what was truly fascinating was her ability to recognize those scents. She explained that as a descendant of the Tang clan, which specialized in poisons, she had to be highly sensitive to smells. Shifting focus from their explanations, Soryong noticed no bees were emerging from the hive. He concluded that this was the perfect moment to act, and ventured into the Golden King bees' hive to harvest their honey. Holding smoldering mugwort leaves, whose smoke soothed the bees, the trio moved cautiously, observing their surroundings. Standing at the entrance to the massive tree, surrounded by the silence of the night, the leader warned of the danger and insisted on going first. As he stepped inside, his eyes widened in amazement, marveling at how much larger the hive was than they had anticipated. Looking upward, they saw enormous, golden glowing honeycombs fully living up to the name Golden King bees. The leader confirmed that the hive appeared empty, with no sounds of bees buzzing around. As they ventured further, Soryong noticed something unusual. After a closer inspection, he realized there was no honey. Huine, after looking around, confirmed his observation. This struck the leader as odd, noting that such a thing had never happened before. Soryong also observed the absence of eggs in the hive. Curious, the leader asked if this might be related to the lack of honey. Drawing on his expertise, Soryong hypothesized that the bees were preparing to migrate. They must have consumed all their stored honey and carried it in their stomachs for the journey. He suggested this behavior might have been triggered by the frequent presence of humans nearby. Queen agreed, stating that it made complete sense. Soryong elaborated that when bees prepare to migrate, the queen stops laying eggs, because they can no longer care for larvae during their transition. While exploring the tree's interior, Soryong suddenly froze in shock. Hidden and camouflaged among the hive's remains, he spotted a lone, golden king bee that had been left behind. With a sly smile, Soryong turned to the leader and asked how long he could sustain his mobility techniques without resting. The leader, confused by the question, estimated he could manage about half a day. Before he could ask why, Soryong wanted to know, a scout interrupted urgently, announcing that the Golden King bees were returning and they needed to leave immediately. On high alert, the leader ordered everyone to retreat. He told Soryong to abandon his search and get out of the hive. In the background, Soryong continued inspecting the hive, until Huang came to retrieve him. Grabbing him by his clothes, she insisted they leave immediately. They all dashed to safety, knowing that even the Tang clan's techniques to calm the bees would not be enough to prevent an attack. As Soryong was dragged along, it became apparent that he had taken the Golden King bee and hidden it inside his clothes. Moments later, the group finally breathed a sigh of relief. Barely dodging a catastrophic swarm, Huang breathed a massive sigh of relief, thankful they dipped before the horde respawned, but suddenly froze. Something was squirming inside Soryong's robes. Panicking, she screamed, demanding to know what he was hiding. Flashing a shameless grin, Soryong casually revealed the Golden King Bee Queen. He casually shrugged, claiming since they couldn't snag the honey, he just kidnapped the ultimate VIP who makes it. The whole squad blue-screened. Total silence. But the second his insane logic actually registered, absolute chaos erupted. They freaked out, having zero clue how to survive this. Meanwhile, the impossibly cute Golden King Bee Queen let out a tiny heart-melting squeak. Soryong smirked at the squad leader, dropping the bombshell that the hive would instantly realize their beloved royalty vanished and hunt them down. Right on cue, an apocalyptic storm of suicidal Golden King bees ready to die for their ruler blotted out the horizon, charging straight at them. Smiling innocently, Soryong cheerfully yelled, "We gotta run right now," sparking a totally frantic life-or-death marathon. Wolfgang hoisted Soryong onto his back, sprinting like his absolute life depended on it. The captive queen fidgeted anxiously, her tiny wings vibrating with pure stress. Soryong softly pet her head, desperately calming her down, promising to whisk her away to a super-secret paradise where nobody could ever bother them. Days blurred together since their hellish sprint from the apocalyptic bee swarm kicked off. Throughout this soul-crushing marathon, the crew shattered their physical limits, ditching sleep completely and spamming their footwork techniques to the absolute max. Pure, soul-draining fatigue painted every single squad member's face. By the time they finally approached their designated safe zone, multiple Venom Blood Unit warriors had quietly dropped off the radar. Soryong swore that once they survived, he would ruthlessly mandate hardcore footwork, training for the entire squad. Pushing relentlessly forward, one fighter suddenly tripped, face-planting into the dirt. Freaking out, a teammate screamed, spotlighting their completely collapsed comrade. The grounded soldier was actually Hwang Durian, from the Venom Blood Unit. He looked completely wrecked, barely conscious, rocking heavy black bags under his eyes with drool and snot, totally leaking everywhere. Honestly, Soryong looked just as cursed with massive eye bags, but he desperately held on to the crazy hope that creating enough distance from the hive would finally make this psycho swarm drop their relentless aggro. Wolfgang, however, was totally losing his mind. He grilled Soryong, doubting they could actually survive this. Soryong dodged the question, offering absolutely zero comfort. Fast forward 3 grueling days, another fighter crashed out, eating dirt hard on the trail. Whispering a pathetic apology, he confessed he was totally done. Panic flared in Soryong over Wolfgang's failing stamina. Before he could react, Hwang aggressively stepped up, demanding to backpack Soryong herself instead. Soryong frantically objected, claiming his own 2 legs worked fine. Despite looking absolutely wrecked and drained, Hwang flexed an unbreakable aura, roaring that a true Tang Clan member never ever quits. The moment they finally crashed at the Tang Clan's main gates, 2 stationed guards locked onto the approaching zombies and instantly recognized their precious young Miss Hwang. Using Soryong as a literal crutch, Hwang painfully stumbled forward. The sentries stood completely paralyzed by their trashed condition and frantically screamed for epic backup. This insane chaos immediately alerted the head clan elder and the legendary Chai Olsen, who sprinted out to investigate the massive uproar. Both masters completely short-circuited seeing Hwang in such a critical near-death state. Chai Olsen softly rested her head on his lap, channeling supreme healing arts to stabilize her. Radiating pure killing intent, he demanded answers from Soryong. Sweating bullets, Soryong begged for chill, swearing Hwang was just experiencing massive burnout from spamming hardcore footwork for 10 days, with 0 breaks. Slapping aside the lore drop, he desperately begged them to sprint straight toward the combat training grounds. Screaming their timer was practically 0. The completely baffled elder demanded context. Without hesitating at all, Soryong dug into his robes and flashed the golden-haired royalty herself. He warned that the apocalypse swarm was literally dropping in, and they needed to instantly fortify the ancient grove within the training arena. A suffocating, terrifying silence instantly nuked the entire room, while everyone's brain cells utterly failed to process this insane plot twist. Finally, the elder shattered the tense quiet, howling with hysterical laughter at how absolutely unhinged this reality was. Chai Olsen, however, wasn't vibing with the joke. He lethally reminded Soryong the quest was to farm honey, not abduct the entire monarch. Locking Soryong in an inescapable chokehold, the elder hyped up his aura, declaring they were deploying to the training zone. Right this second, Soryong let out a terrified screech as the elder casually snatched him up, zooming forward at absolute light speed. Halfway there, Soryong shrieked in pure panic. "What now?" the elder barked. "The monster bees, they are directly approaching us." Soryong screamed. The elder whipped his head around, spotting a demonic storm of bees chasing them. "Did you literally kidnap the entire nation? You gotta be kidding," he gasped. The duo immediately bolted, sprinting toward the ancient forest. Soryong felt his bones rattling from their insane velocity, yet the elder's iron grasp kept him firmly anchored, acting like a human seatbelt. They finally made it. Approaching the massive trunk, Soryong softly whispered to the golden-haired monarch, revealing this was the ultimate sanctuary he guaranteed. A peaceful territory just for her. Extremely gently, Soryong let the royal insect go, asking, "Pretty awesome, huh?" The majestic queen chimed a sweet, harmonious hum, totally validating his epic choice. She thoroughly scanned the branches before facing him, practically buzzing with joy. Soryong laughed, double-checking if her new palace hit the spot. Standing close by, the elder urgently warned them to bounce. The massive swarm was still hot on their trail. The entire Tang clan stared in absolute shock. The majestic golden swarm descended, gliding in flawless synchronization right above the ancient branches. The royal monarch unleashed a rhythmic frequency, commanding her loyal subjects. Without hesitation, the glowing army instantly claimed their new fortress. The veteran elder gaped in pure disbelief, swearing he had never seen such a legendary spectacle. This insane escort mission was an absolute victory. Relocating the mythical Golden Queen safely marked a monumental triumph for the famous Tang clan. Shortly after, the surprisingly cute insects, literally the size of golden retrievers, were happily chugging down a sweet nectar blend. They served sugary syrup to the absolutely drained golden swarm, who chased them relentlessly. After all, ancient wisdom claims, true loyalty is forged by breaking bread together, and genuine trust starts with simple compassion. Luckily, in this martial world, a premium sweet substitute actually existed, totally nailing the job. Soryong prayed this makeshift banquet would completely melt away their lingering suspicions. Secretly, he craved an epic bond, hoping these magical beasts would ultimately recognize him as their absolute lord. Out of nowhere, Soryong shrieked. Panic flooded his face over a forgotten detail. Chusan and the elder immediately shot him suspicious glares. Demanding answers, sweating bullets, Soryong frantically asked about Huang. Visibly annoyed, Chusan snapped that he was only checking on her. Right now, after that entire chaotic ordeal. He clarified that he already ordered their subordinates to safely guide Huang straight to her mom, for some much-needed rest. Chusan then interrogated him, deeply annoyed, asking if they seriously spammed their advanced movement techniques. To literally dash from the wild woods straight to the clan gates while dodging a massive bee army. Soryong froze, eventually giving a painfully awkward nod. He immediately apologized, revealing they survived on a brutal 4 hours of sleep daily, spending every other second sprinting for their lives. The elder suddenly had a chilling realization. Whipping his head towards Soryong, he demanded the exact location of the elite Venom Blood Squad. Cold sweat drenched Soryong's face as he awkwardly choked out a super shaky response. They totally passed out somewhere in the dirt. He frantically promised to backtrack and rescue them. Eventually, the hardcore Venom Blood Squad made it home alive to their loved ones. Meanwhile, inside Huang's chambers, she had bounced back perfectly, sitting upright with a radiant smile. Soryong relaxed right beside her. Buzzing with hype, Huang mentioned that the epic golden swarm was fully re-energized. Soryong broke down how the mythical insects were currently grinding, harvesting toxic nectar, straight from the legendary Tang clan's deadly mountain peaks. Huang giggled out loud, calling the whole situation insanely cute. Suddenly, the chamber doors violently blasted open. Screaming Soryong's name in pure panic, Pei charged in, begging him to hurry outside. The golden colony was acting completely unhinged. The swarm was frantically hunting for something. Soryong and Huang sprinted outdoors, discovering massive insects wildly scattered across the entire courtyard. The instant the golden beasts locked onto Soryong, they dive-bombed him. The swarm fiercely latched onto his robes, aggressively pulling his fabric. Utterly baffled, Soryong could not decode their chaotic actions. The massive bugs pulled harder, literally hoisting him into the sky. Huang stared in pure shock, as Soryong violently levitated, limbs completely locked out like a human T-pose. A few seconds later, the bizarre swarm dropped him safely. Completely mind-blown, Soryong demanded to know what the heck triggered this insane, glitchy behavior. The golden beasts started shoving him straight toward their royal nest, and reality suddenly clicked. They literally demanded he step inside. Scanning the area, Soryong realized the glowing squad had already aggressively fast-tracked building their epic golden sanctuary, and were grinding hard to stockpile mystical honey. Suddenly, the majestic queen gracefully floated toward him, offering his open hands. He casually offered her a royal lift. But before he could blink, the worker bees restrained him again, completely paralyzing his body. One literally squished his cheek. Soryong stared at the monarch, realizing she looked ridiculously gorgeous and strangely captivating. Then, flipping his entire world upside down, the majestic queen shut her eyes and slowly drifted right into his personal space. Absolute terror spiked through Soryong's veins, but struggling was literally impossible. The royal monarch forcefully smashed her lips against his. A mysterious object slid past his teeth, and his body automatically swallowed. Instantly, the golden swarm dropped him. The queen rapidly backed away, her entire face burning scarlet. Soryong exploded in sheer panic, screaming, absolutely horrified, "You stole my very first kiss. Are you insane?" But before he could unleash more fury, a devastating surge of agony nuked his entire system. He forcefully crashed into the dirt, convulsing in pure torment. "What the heck did you just feed me?" Soryong internally screamed. The queen bee locked onto him with a mysterious, unblinking gaze, leaving our guy totally clueless. Meanwhile, Soryong thrashed on the dirt in absolute agony. The queen, she just watched him suffer. While squirming in the dirt, a crazy sensation hit him. A hellish inferno suddenly swallowed his entire body. His heart hammered like crazy. Fighting through the intense pain, he glared at the royal bug beside him. He demanded to know what trash she force-fed him, but she simply tilted her head adorably. Silence. His vision blurred out, everything fading to black. Minutes later, a panicked voice repeatedly screamed his name. Forcing his heavy eyelids open, Huang Yin and the Great Elder slowly blurred into focus. Huang Yin freaked out, yelling that he was crashing hard. The Elder confirmed he swallowed an overpowered elixir. Boom, Soryong blacked out again. Huang Yin begged him to stay alive, swearing to stabilize his chi. Moments later, Soryong's eyes snapped wide open. The first thing he saw was Huang Yin hovering. Pure panic covered her face as she checked his vitals. Groggily sitting up, he scratched his confused head. She explained they were chilling in the Tang clan's infirmary, then elaborated. Seeing that royal bug abduct him, they sprinted to the hive. But they were too late, he was out cold. So they dragged him back here. She nervously asked if he remembered the hive incident. Soryong froze. Then it hit him like a truck. His absolute first kiss ever was stolen by a giant insect. His face burned beet red from sheer embarrassment. Still stressing out, Huang Yin asked if he felt okay. She frantically checked if his body felt weird, offering to summon the Great Elder if things went south. Staring at his palms, Soryong shook his head. No need. Exhaling a massive sigh, he spilled the truth. He confessed the queen force-fed him her personal royal stash. That ridiculous snack was 100% the culprit. Super curious, Huang Yin pressed for menu details. Soryong shrugged, clueless about the official name, offering a wild guess. He dubbed it the legendary King Bee Elixir. Huang Yin gasped. He explained normal workers just farm basic nectar. Only the low-tier grunts eat that basic stuff. Totally confused, Huang Yin asked what the royalty actually munches on. Soryong dropped the lore from cradle to grave. The queen exclusively devours a high-tier elixir crafted by her minions. Simply put, that crazy bug shoved premium royal jelly down his throat. It finally clicked in Huang Yin's head. She gasped, realizing it was the monarch's legendary lifelong exclusive diet. Smirking, Soryong hyped up the elixir's insane hidden buffs. Totally hooked, Huang Yin begged to know the exact specs. Gushing like a fanboy, Soryong revealed the crazy stats. While basic worker bugs die in just 6 weeks, the queen, fueled by that god-tier jelly, she outlives them by 690 times. Startled by his hype, Huang Yin told him to chill. She declared the case closed, the mystery was solved, so zero reasons to panic anymore. She pointed out his current internal cultivation, the 5 Venoms return technique, was basically just a noob-level starter pack, meaning he couldn't handle the jelly's max output. Normal honey packed about 2 months of solid internal energy, but this dude casually absorbed 60 times that limit. That is 10 straight years of hardcore internal energy. She claimed he hit the absolute jackpot. Feeling intense blue aura surging through his veins, Soryong realized he totally lucked out. Twirling her hair and blushing hard, Huang Yin shyly hinted he should go peek in a silver mirror as soon as possible. Face burning red, she vaguely teased that the golden elixir came with some unexpected physical upgrades. Eyes popping, Soryong frantically demanded answers. What crazy side effects? Why did he need a mirror right now? Staring into the glass, the shock hit him. Bro grew a few inches, his abs were absolutely shredded. His hair grew noticeably longer. Flexing in the reflection, he knew this glow-up was highly suspicious. Did royal jelly always trigger these anime power-ups? His cultivation level unquestionably skyrocketed to absolute new heights. But wait, his skin was flawlessly smooth, glowing like a girl's. Absolute panic struck. Was this elixir gender-bending him? That jelly was meant strictly for queens. Sweating bullets, he realized there was only one ultimate way to verify his manhood. Time to inspect his trusty baseball bat. After a stressful pat-down, he exhaled deeply. The equipment was fully operational. Honestly, maybe even slightly upgraded. Flopping onto the floor in pure relief, Soryong thanked heaven everything remained perfectly safe. Huang Yin chimed in that the Great Elder manually stabilized his chi. Without that assist, he would have exploded. Soryong nodded solemnly. He really had been knocking on death's door. The Great Elder absolutely clutched up and saved his life. Strolling through the bustling streets, Soryong suddenly felt heavy gazes locking onto him from every single direction. Was his newly awakened inner aura leaking? Then whispered giggles from nearby girls caught his sharp ears. Dodging the spotlight, he melted into the shadows. Reaching the Sichuan clan's grand dining hall, he slipped inside completely unnoticed. But Huine's mother immediately spotted him crashing the massive feast right as servants arranged an absolutely breathtaking culinary spread. Smirking, she practically praised her son-in-law's insane glow-up, demanding to know if his body felt perfectly healed. Bowing politely, Soryong confirmed his absolute recovery, deeply regretting the massive panic he had previously caused. Waving off his apologies, she declared a full-blown celebration. His skin was literally glowing with raw, unbridled vitality. She joked that Hwayne must be incredibly jealous. Blushing furiously red, a totally flustered Hwayne begged everyone to stop mocking her. Desperate to change topics, she ordered everyone seated as the grand banquet finally commenced. The clan head questioned his current physical state, prompting Soryong to humbly bow and apologize for the massive scare once more. Shifting his gaze, Soryong expressed immense gratitude toward the revered elder for personally overseeing his intense life-saving recovery. Nodding wisely, the elder accepted the thanks, noting how Soryong had clearly stumbled upon an absolutely legendary stroke of luck. Instantly, both patriarchs locked eyes with Soryong, demanding the full truth. Hwayne had already spilled rumors about the legendary King Bee elixir, but they craved the raw facts straight from his mouth. Soryong froze, mentally scrambling to explain that absolutely wild, chaotic encounter. He carefully revealed how the massive Queen Bee, thrilled with her brand new domain, decided to grant him an epic reward. Out of pure gratitude, she violently dragged him inside and force-fed him the legendary elixir, sparking that entire explosive situation. Jaws dropped across the room. Nobody could fathom a mid-tier venomous beast actually showing heartfelt appreciation. It was mind-blowing. Smelling absolute profit, the elder asked the clan head if harvesting more elixir was possible, seeing massive gains for the Tang family. The father agreed entirely. While their premium honey was already incredibly overpowered, securing that divine elixir would make them utterly unstoppable. Eyes practically sparkling with greed, Hwayne's mother leaned toward Soryong, desperately begging to know if farming it was a real option. Could he secure a second batch? Dead silence swallowed the grand hall, as everyone held their breath for his ultimate answer. Even Hwayne stared intensely, asking if a restock was actually doable. Soryong hesitated, his brain working in absolute overdrive. Sure, with basic bugs, you could easily hack the system, forging fake queen cells to completely fool the mindless drone workers. They would gladly spit out endless royal jelly. But trying that sneaky exploit on terrifyingly intelligent, hyper-aware king bees, that would literally end in a brutal massacre. He slowly explained that normal royal jelly was just basic larval baby food, regurgitated by lower drones, but his specific dose came directly from the monstrous queen's mouth, making him realize a horrifying truth. It was an entirely different, highly questionable fluid, torn between dropping the gross truth or crushing their sky-high dreams forever. Soryong flatly declared it absolutely impossible. Instantly, the elder and mother demanded a solid reason for this massive letdown. Shuddering internally, Soryong admitted that even if he brought more back, nobody here would actually want to swallow that stuff. Completely baffled by his grimace, the clan head asked if the legendary treasure just tasted